Executive producer, Bobby Brown. This is your... No.
Okay, this is Monday, January 30th, 7 o'clock, 7:02. We have it here, this is a special meeting, this budget. This is not a regular work session, it's not a regular meeting. And what we're going to do is extend 2 minutes to each individual who has a question to the board. Basically, this is a board meeting, so it's going to take 2 minutes. And just get to the point so we can go on to the next person. There's quite a few people here, so let's try to be fair to the rest of the people. Okay. This budget that's being presented, proposed for this budget year, 2017-18 comes to 1.569699. Which equates to about 71 cents per thousand. That's the assessed value of the house. That's the assessed value, not the property value of the house itself. It's the assessed value. Okay, so we're going to do this orderly. And does someone have their hand up first? What we'll do is we're going to listen to you people first. Let's go over here towards the right. Then.
Do you have any more of this paperwork here? They can make a note.
All right, she's trying to make it because the machine got overheated while I was trying to make it. So, hold on. You'll have to state your name when you get up to talk. I appreciate it. Thank you. You're signing something.
My name is Mark Griffin. My question to you is, what is the process that you go through in order to come up with a budget?
Okay, the process is what we do is we get all the department heads' information and we put it together, put it in the computer, and then you come up with a starting number. And then what you do is you continue to go down. As you progress, you try to chop down what you have to chop down and try to make cuts where you can make them. Okay, naturally what happens is that most departments overload as much as they can to try to get as much as they can. You don't know how much that's going to come to until all that information is first put in the computer and then analyzed for the tax rate. That's why in the beginning it turned out to be 21%.
Do you do any analysis at all
Yeah.
on expenditures from the prior
Oh,
year?
yeah.
Do you know what your expenditures are in the current year? Have you pulled it forward to year end? Have you come down with an annualized amount? Okay, comparing that to last year's budget, okay, that's the way you do a budget.
Yes.
Then you compare your numbers, your actual numbers, to your budget from last year. Then you go to your department heads and you say, is there anything on the budget from this past year that's not going to be on it next year? And is there anything that's not on the budget this year that's going to be on it next year? Okay, that's the way you have to do it. You can't just say, this is the budget from last year. Let me, work on that.
Can I just add, what you just described is what does get done. So we do look at current year's expenditures, last year's expenditures, and that in part is one reason we went from 5.7 to 1.57. Because there were line items in there that had money, I'll say in DPW for say snow, overtime. That last year, a normal amount, maybe they budgeted $20,000 to try to cover it. If they used $8,000, $10,000 was taken right off the top.
The problem with that is, looking at the budget that we had from previously, and I haven't looked at it here, just one line item that we saw, Amy and I were looking at it before. And you have people annoyed because one line of salaries in 2 years are going up 80%. That's not because they went up 80%. That's because of the budget you guys presented went up 80%. The actual spending was not that much. And that's the problem with this budget. You guys, I don't know if you went line by line by line, but you need to do that and present that. If you're going to present the budget and say this is the budget.
Well, the budget isn't the budget until you're at the point of being final, right?
Yeah.
It's graphed all the way down. So there was a lot of excitement about the 12.1, which the rumors and I think in some areas some bad information. It's great to have a room like this, and it should be this way in a partnership of working together and working on it end of the day, right? Not coming down here with the anger thinking it is 12%. And I got a lot of phone calls saying that, so I'm just throwing it out there.
I'm not
But I'm
angry at
just
all.
saying, at the end of the day, in working the budget, I agree with you, we go through the line items. And then he presents it, he's the budget officer, everybody has the responsibility to go through it, review it.
Should you have the presentation of actual expenditures to coming up budget? Like the expenditures from 2016
Yes.
to 2000.
I worked
If you
with,
have that,
I
then
worked with December's budget when I did my numbers. That's what I did. Because we haven't closed January yet.
right, so but we have to see that, to actually do an analysis of the current budget. You need to see line by line. So if you have that, like, so we can look at it.
That's what I did.
I was behind that guy and he kept, the guy was taking notes.
I understand
So you
that.
Let me
try
go
to
back for a
consist-
bit.
Right.
Yeah, that's what the annualization is called. Yeah.
Next person, please,
You guys said that?
on this side of the group. State your name, please.
My name is Richard Kalor. I just have a quick question for the final number itself. Looking at the current budget that we're in now, the total for this year was $4,794,638. Is that correct? On page 12?
He's trying to reach.
These are the same numbers. Just
Yes. Am I reading the correct number? So that's the current budget we're in right now. And your new proposed budget, right next to it, is $5,032,926, correct? When I do the calculation of the current budget to the new proposed budget, I don't see 1.5%, I see 4.97%. So how do you come to 1.5? I mean, is that incorrect, my number? I mean, you guys, anything with
Your number's right.
calculators?
I came up with 4.5.
Okay.
That's what we just expenditures, so that's.
No, that was total revenue.
Yeah, but that's the expenditures, is what your budget is
Based on the
for.
dollar amount, based on the dollar amount, not on the actual expenditures and revenue. Here's the dollar amount. If you look at 2017-16, the village of Washington residents were paid $45.80 to a tree forfeit.
Yeah, that's irrelevant.
No, that's it, that's how you get it, that's where you get the, that's where you get
So
the.
then, what's the expenditure then in the budget? When you budgeted for this year, this current year, and you did your tax rate, it was based on $4,794,000, correct? Yes. So when you do your new tax rate, you're gonna base it on $5,032,000, correct? That's 4.97%. You can change your numbers and tell me that 80 cents higher.
But
this,
you're
but that's what it
basing
is.
on the expenditures and revenue, that, it comes out on the dollar amount, it's not that. It's not paid, it's based on the dollar amount of taxes you paid last year, and what the increase is going to be here, and it tells you right here. You have this sheet in there, don't you? Look at this. Yeah, look at this sheet, you'll see it. You'll see the numbers.
Thank you. Next,
All lines, 1083 Washingtonville, are we still using the $200,000 fund balance? Yes. The balance is budget? Where does that show in this budget? Because I noticed that the real property tax is also decreased on this budget by $100,000 from the last two proposed budgets.
just to let you know that, actually, it looks like it is the first time we're actually using it.
You got microphones, we can't hear you.
We're actually using it. First time we're using it.
Using what?
Fund balance. Check it out with the accountant.
But where did it show and why was the real property taxes reduced by $100,000 on this budget that we have here, as opposed to the budget that was presented on January 17th and the one after that? We were up at 3.658686. And now we're down to 3.521976.
Howard, are you allowed to
On
use
real
reserve
property
balance?
tax.
Real property tax.
Are you allowed to use the fund balance
The real, yeah, the real property tax.
to offset it? You want me to just give that one
Okay,
down?
now the reserve balance comes from water, sewer, is in there also.
No, those are separate funds.
Oh, okay, so this is strictly for, okay, so we're allowed, should it be a separate line item?
Well, usually it's shown somewhere.
Okay, it doesn't.
I don't see
We
it.
know that, so it doesn't show anything. It just shows that we're adding numbers.
You covered on that.
Right.
But there's nothing that shows applied fund balance.
So we have to search for how much money that we have when you put into a budget.
You might be able to hear it in the front.
We can't hear. I'm sorry.
Speak up louder.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get the question answered.
Right.
The $100,000 difference in the property tax revenue? The last two budgets, like I said, showed $3.658 million. The one that was presented on January 17th and the one that right after that, same thing. And now we're at 3.5, 21.
The first one.
The first one, the first page one, the first thing, real property taxes. 1718 proposed, 3521976.
Right.
The last budget we had that was printed on January 27th, and the one that was presented on January 17th at that hearing was 3.658686. So we lost money there somehow. Printing maybe, I don't know.
They took my property tax off.
The tax levy that's come back from all residents as per our assessment is based on the market value, which is over 71 million. So when she comes out with the numbers, she came out with the real property tax coming from the individual was $3,330,200. Then we have other taxes that come from Orange County sales, all that.
I'm only talking about real property taxes,
Yes, well, it's all built in.
A1001.
It's all built in, and I'm gonna explain it.
It's
all
not,
built
it's a
in.
separate, Orange County sales tax, property tax is a separate line. It's a separate line.
Yes, it's a separate line. It's a separate line, but it's built into the actual, the whole tally of the tax rate. It's built in. You have to add it together. You have to add it together.
He's asking why the top line has changed.
Why the top line
number?
has
Why
changed,
is
that's all I
it
want to know, why the top line went down $100,000.
According to what I'm seeing here,
January
2016 was 3,286, now it's
Joe, excuse me, Mr. Galante, I'm looking at the budget that you guys handed us for the January 17th public hearing, and it was $3.3 million. That was the 17-18 proposed budget. That was real property taxes, account number A1001. After that, we went to $3.658686 million at the next meeting. And now, we're at $3,521,976. Where's the money coming in and out? We lost $100,000 since the last time we met.
136,710.
To be exact.
Home screen.
Property taxes going down.
That was, yeah, 136,700.
That's the difference.
That's revenue, property tax revenue.
The houses we lost, and the trailer park and all that. That was a decreased revenue from that time.
And 2 weeks ago, a week ago? Well, those are the numbers you have.
All right,
Speak up,
Paul, I
please.
understand what you're saying, so we'll try to get back on that, okay? We'll try to see what, thank you. Hold on a second. Next, please.
Kevin Hudson. Stated earlier, Mayor, that this is the first time we used the fund balance. Back in 2005, this village had a $1.3 million surplus going back to Mayor DeVito's administration. Each year, the fund balance had depleted to the year 2011. April 1st, 2011, when I walked through the door as mayor of this village, we were negative $39,000 in the general fund. Okay? No one would know that because of the media coverage. Now, when I left office, we were approximately $150,000 in the general fund balance. All right, so we had a positive. How come a year later, you had a 25.8% tax increase on these village residents who pay taxes? Each 1% of tax increase is about $35,000 in additional revenue. That would mean you brought in about approximately $800,000 that year and every year forward. Why is there even a tax increase this year? There shouldn't even be a tax increase. I don't know why expenses went up so high. My administration, we dropped spent expenses. Hundreds of thousands of dollars were saved. Okay? Now, I don't understand where this additional money's going. I heard the last meeting, it was stated that the 25.8% tax increase was my doing. Excuse me, I left it in a positive. I inherited it in a negative. The water fund also, it gets better, negative $39,000. Before I stepped through the doors, there was $455,000 borrowed from the water fund before I came through the doors. That should have been in the new budget, which was adopted before April 1st, 2011, in a bond or paid back legally. It wasn't. Our administration, we got it paid down. We had to borrow $200,000 in 2013, and it was in the budget, which you guys passed at a 2 p.m. meeting when I couldn't attend, Deputy Mayor couldn't attend. We asked you to do it at 7 p.m. so people could be there.
I don't recall, but that's okay.
Well, you don't have to remember, I have the minutes, I have all the documents here. Also, one other thing, the wastewater treatment plant, I heard you're proposing a new one for $1 million gallons a day. We have a 700,000 gallon a day permit, is that correct? All right, 850, all right. Before I left, I signed the forms, the MS4 forms, and the certification to the DEC, which I have right here, a copy. We brought our discharge down to 545,000 gallons per day, average, and it was certified to the DEC. Why is it $10 million? I stopped the plant because I thought it was 8, 9, 10 million was too much. For $1 to $2 million, H2M was going to help us repair the plant. $10 million. So on top of this tax increase, even as slight as you claim it to be tonight, you know, this $10 million bond is going to be additional. The residents are faced with the $7.5 million library expense, the $60 million school. This village, I mean, its taxes going up almost 40% under your administration. And I don't hear much of a peep out of the media. You know, after 2013, everything was great again. It's the same MO. Spend and blame somebody else. I want to say, Mayor Matego, his administration did a good job. 1.3 million surplus.
Rudy Cook, all right, your time is up, I'm sorry.
That's crap.
On the sewer plant, real quick, yes, the bids are coming in, and if anything, it's going to be a little bit more than that.
Yeah, what a surprise.
The original budget from H2M had it at 7.1 million. So their estimate is very underestimated. So I think what I'm going to have on the agenda, at least in the first meeting in February, is to have that conversation with the board that we need to bring in an outside engineering firm to review, because what we ended up doing is going back in April, May, we went up to New Paltz to meet with DEC. We met with DEC. They allowed us to put the brakes on the project to review it.
Correct. As they did with
Unfortunately,
us, same
right.
thing.
Unfortunately, our majority ruled it was a 4-1 vote to continue the process. And I think we really seriously need to go back and look at this, because the H1 project is not only for an upgrade, but that expansion of an extra 100,000 gallons of sewer water at the end of the day. So we need to go back to the drawing board and take a really hard look at this and just deal, in my mind, because of the flows that you're talking about and the speedies permit, and there have been no violations, no issues per se, other than that plant is in dire need of maintenance, that we attack it and we go after an upgrade. So,
The village was put on notice of violation back in 2010, according to our engineers at the time, which was Bowie Housing. So, I mean, it wasn't in violation because of
No, it was
2011, 19. Right, it was already there.
It was all I and I.
All right, thank you.
Ma'am, in the back?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Cynthia Chain. I have a question about recreation.
Yes.
Are there any items that are going to be eliminated in this budget?
You have a specific one?
Well, I'm asking, are there any items at all?
Okay, can I please
Sure.
answer that? I believe I answered your email tonight. The one that you are referring to is the Recreation Children's Program for $13,500. Recreation classes, body fit and adult, something I'll probably be interested in, $9,500. Those programs, as far as I'm concerned, will never be touched. Okay? Yep. Okay. Somehow, the rumor was that I was a member of the board, I'm assuming me, was going to be cutting that program, those programs. I've been an educator for 20 years, I've been a coach for 25 years, working with children. There's no way I'm cutting a children's program. Okay, so the information that you got, whether it be email or telephone call, is strictly false.
All right, hold on a second. Hold on. You have to get this true story here. Mr. Bucko wanted to meet with me on Saturday. I came down here probably about 30 seconds after he showed up. And he told me that, we could save money on 2 projects, which was the senior bus trip, and the other one was Diane Jansen's, okay? One was $7,100, and the other was $20,000. And he told me, I says, well, basically, you're telling me you want that cut? Yeah. I said, well, send me an email. I want an email on it. I then turned around, and I have the email here, when I sent it to him, asking him, these are the 2 items you were referring to, please get back to me and confirm these 2 items. Ironically enough, when I talked to him on Saturday, okay, he knew the name of the line item, and he knew the amount of the name of the line item. He didn't even have to look it up. He knew it right off the bat. And again, I followed up with another email, again asking him the next day, please let me know if you want these 2 items cut, because we hadn't done it in the budget yet. And I never received an email. And all I do is ask him yes or no. That's
Read the
all I want.
response that I sent you.
Yeah, but you see, you're going around the issue that I asked you. I asked you those 2
Let's not
issues.
get excited.
You should respond to the residents the way you respond to
That's
him.
exactly what I discussed.
Here
You're not
is-
answering any of our questions.
Hey, Bob,
Here is one of the
from 1 o'clock in the morning
questions
working on it?
that came up at the February, I'm sorry, the January Village Board meeting. It refers to, on page 9 of your budget, senior bus trips, for $7,100. Underneath that is recreation classes, $20,000. Has nothing to do with the 2 line items that I mentioned a little while ago. It was told to me, told to the board, told to the camera, we get reimbursed from those 2 items. So if the village is being reimbursed for the $7,100 for bus trips and the $20,000 for recreation classes, where is the money? Hold on. If you are paying for bus trips, shame on you, because it's been in the budget, as of Saturday, 4 straight years, okay, that I could go back to. And then I could go back to, as Mayor Hines said to me on Saturday, oh, that's been going on for 20 years. I'm only interested in the last 4. So with these numbers, over $100,000 has left the village. When we were told on January 17th, we get reimbursed that money. Actually, the term that was used was, it's a push, okay? That's a gambling term. It's a push. We've been gambling with this budget now for 3 months. We've been gambling with our tax dollars, as far as I'm concerned, for 29 years. Enough is enough, okay? I have all the tapes, all the meetings on videotape. The board does not like it on videotape because now you're held responsible. You go on YouTube and you can watch every minute of every meeting, okay? I'm telling you now, when I am not lying to you, it's a push. That was the term. Actually, we've been kidding around with that term. It's a push. I want to know where the money is.
So does everybody else.
Okay? That's all I'm asking, okay? The cut that I wanted to make, and I also said in the email that he refuses to share with you, is I wanted crystal clear tonight, your description of those 2 items and where the money is going. And he said to me, let's go back to Saturday, Mr. Galante misunderstood the question. I said, did he think the question was, how many trees do we have at Vern Allen Park? Okay, how could you misinterpret those 2 items? Tell me the money is reimbursed, the money is nowhere to be found, okay? It's a question. It's a question, I keep asking questions. I never get answers. We want answers. I told you I'm your voice, okay? I'm not getting the information I need, okay? On Friday night, we met here, there had to be about 12 professionals, okay? They can't figure out this stuff,
There's not
okay?
enough information there, we can figure it out.
Okay, so now, I'm going to go back to what I said last week. This is Fake Budget, the sequel, part 2.
Can I just, you want to know where the recreation money is, and it's the revenue line item is A21152 and 51.
Okay? With the bus trips. It's a push. Well, that's what we
You're
said.
you're asking about the recreation, this is the
No, it's
recreation.
not about the senior bus trips.
That's right.
You can't answer the questions. That's the bottom line.
Mr. Buckle, I think I can give you a little.
No, you did, the other day.
No,
I misunderstood.
As far as, let's go with the bus trip. As far as the bus trip is concerned, these seniors, they were given the money to buy the bus trip. Then, there was times that prior president that was here would come into Village Hall, and he did give the village back some money. Now, the money was put into, was it put into the bus trip, or what is it put that? I don't have that information, because I wasn't the treasurer at that time. But there was money coming in, and I think the president, the president there now could explain a little bit about it. That money did come in from the prior president that was given to the treasurer. Whatever the amount was. So that's where I was under the impression, under the understanding that they were paying back for the bus trip. Even if they didn't, Mr. Mayor, or Mr. Trustee. Even if they didn't, I'm saying, let's say they didn't give $1. You begrudge these people a trip, money for a trip to go on?
No, I'd be good being lied to.
No, it's not being lied to. Maybe it wasn't being lied to.
Being lied to.
If anybody that was lying to, you were lying to the one you told the mayor Saturday that you wanted them eliminated out of there.
Let's hear from us.
Listen, Mr. Buckle, we deserve it. Friday night, 1 o'clock in the morning, trying to freaking square this crap away. Enough said. 1 o'clock in the morning, and I know because I was here.
Without telling anyone else.
Excuse me, invite the rest of the board.
There's too many people for the.
Hold on, 1 second, please.
Please,
They could
one
stay
second.
for the vote.
Mr. Bucko,
Right here.
or Carolina, Honorable Mayor, I was the new president. I myself brought $800 to the village. Do you remember when I came? If it went to the bus, I believe it did. Under my presidency, we had something, the village got it. We never denied that.
I'm not denying that you
This
did
is,
anything
this
wrong.
is, we've been doing, our club is 31 years old, okay? If you got $2,000 or $3,000 homeowners that are paying taxes, 2,000 of them, I would ask them to go to every one of their houses for a penny a day. A penny a day comes out to $3.65. I'll bet you all these people would give me $3.65. Would you give me that for one day, for 1 year? Nobody wants to answer? Why you got one lousy penny a day? That's what it comes to. We all, God bless you, you're young. I got a crew of 48 people in their 80s. We got 3 things that go wrong. We got no teeth, we can't hear, and we can't see. Other than that, I'm finished. Thank you.
That's good. I like it. I like it.
I got no teeth. No teeth.
It's not falling on you, it's falling up
We
to you.
need, we got a name.
You know it.
Amy Chang,
Amy Chang.
yes. So given that we are all trying to understand this budget and no one seems to be able to give specific questions specific answers to specific questions, when is this budget due and what are our options if it's not voted in today?
Okay, we had a budget hearing, and that was when we were here, when the budget hearing was, which the papers are handed out, that was handed out for the 12.41. Okay? Mr. Prada, if this budget isn't passed tonight, what happens with the state?
Well, you could pass it tomorrow.
Yeah.
But if it's not passed, by then, your preliminary budget becomes the budget.
So it's a 12.4.
So, sorry, I couldn't hear you.
That goes back to the original budget, that was the actual budget hearing, which was on the 17th, I believe.
But that one wasn't
January.
passed, was that passed?
No.
So how could
That
that
was another
be?
hearing like this, not a hearing, I'm sorry, a meeting.
Well, how
Okay?
could that be any better than this? Because we haven't, nobody's voted on this budget either,
So
or that one.
that would be tonight possibly, if the trustees say, okay, this is the one we're gonna go with.
So I have a question for the trustee. I see a 7.5% increase on this, and I don't understand how we do a budget against a budget. Usually you do a budget, as Peggy said, against an actual. Having said that, this is what we're looking at. So you're making a guess on top of a guess when you have the real numbers.
When you get,
Okay, so I'm not done with my question. So with the 7.5% increase that you have here, or whatever the number you were saying that your increase is, can you tell us what you're gonna use that money for? Because I can't understand all these lines that don't make any sense to me. And I'm a financial person. I'm a CPA, and I can't understand this budget. So what are you guys gonna do with my money that you're taking? Where is it going to be spent in 2018?
Okay, so you obviously are looking at not only the revenue, you're looking at the operating budget. That happens to be your A fund. That's DPW, police, et cetera, right?
Yes.
If you look at the columns over on the right-hand side, you have your budget number. We can share with you a monthly budget which shows each line item with the expense to date and the remaining balance on that code.
So I did look at that Friday night,
Okay?
and those numbers do not match these numbers here. And when you look at those numbers, for example, I'll pick on this one because this one just gets under my skin for some reason. So, page 6, ladies and gentlemen. Full-time labor, on there, you have $204,000. projected for 2018. When we look at the actual numbers, as of December, that line item only had $99,000 in it. Have you looked at that with me? The expense that you have here for 2014 says $113,000. That's your 2014, 2015 numbers. If I look at that and your 2018 budget, you're saying that in 4 years, that group of people, I don't know who they are, so you guys, I'm really happy for you because that's an 80% increase in your salary. So how are you expecting me to swallow this budget when you're telling me you're gonna spend my money?
Can't hear you.
Budget, we're not asking the budget without some real answers.
20 minutes here while they
What's the answer?
For me personally, Amy, for me personally, what I'd like to do is take your information, because I don't have, obviously, the papers that are in your hand.
I'm just looking at the budget that you have right there.
Yeah, but what I'm looking at says 200,000, 2016, 17.
That's a budget though. What's your actual? What's your actual for that line item?
Well, that's what I'm saying. The budget that, we're not looking at the same thing then.
We are, no, so we are looking at the same thing.
Okay.
Your budget for 2016 and 17 says $200,000.
Correct.
2018 says $204,000.
Correct.
When you look at that, it's a guess on top of a guess, right? So that shows like it's almost flat. But when we looked at the actual numbers, it was $99,000. So I want to understand, why is it that this is showing $200,000? In your ledger, it said $99,000 as of December.
That's it, we get this guessing.
Retro pay is also involved in that, we settled contracts.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
We settled contracts that were older, but we finally settled them, and then that's how those numbers jumped up that far.
But that column was supposed to be your budget for 2016, which should not have moved, right? Is that the actual, the 204 that you have there?
No, because you still have one of them, you have the part-time laborers that's still in contract.
Mr. Mayor, can you talk to us? Can you talk to us like you talked to Mr. Bucko with that loud voice, please? Because we can't hear you.
So I let,
That also includes, have to remember something, when you're planning a budget, you also have to plan on the possibility of contracts being settled.
yep,
Plus you had ones that were settled prior to that, because like the police contract was 5 years old. So that took a lot of chunk out of it too, at one point.
but I thought you had a contingency budget in here as well.
Yes, we do, and that's where the money also comes out of, but you have to project what you're gonna be spending over the next contract period.
So 200, from 99 to 204?
So what, Amy, what she's telling you is it is going up 80%.
Yeah, exactly.
Then that's what he's saying to you.
That's what you're
The
telling me?
numbers are correct.
Because then I want to work for the Washingtonville. I want to work for this. I checked this city and I don't get 40%, 80% increase. I want to work here. 5 minutes left.
All right, hold on a second, hold on a second.
Terry Hughes, the point I want to make is,
I'm not done.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were done. Go ahead.
My time is up? Can I use your time? I'm using my friend's time. Okay. You use yours? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mine also.
Okay, thank you. So you haven't answered that question. So I guess what we want to understand is, there's lots of lines here. Huh? Yeah. Can you also tell us how many bank accounts we have and what are the balance in those bank accounts? Because without knowing that, we don't know if the budget in 2017 was already too big and you have extra money. Because we're a non-for-profit, guys. We're not here to make money and leave it in the bank. I understand that, you know, we have to cover our expenses, but not on the backs of these people, we're gonna leave money in the bank. So, how many bank accounts do you have?
Reconciled bank account
Reconciled
balances.
bank accounts. So, since you're presenting a budget, if I were to go to my CFO and present a budget, you better be sure I gotta answer all their questions, right? So, how many bank accounts do you have? Are they reconciled, and what's the balance in those accounts?
Well, I think there's 7, I'm not sure.
7 bank accounts. What are the total balance in your bank accounts?
I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right there, sure. One bank account for each trustee. Sorry, Joe.
They're restricted funds. The only time you could use that money is if you use it for a line item that's restricted, like let's say, street lights. If you wanted to use that for buying a new chair, new table, you couldn't. You had to use it for street lights. And when the capital and the project came up to play street lights, you would take that money to a resolution passed by the board.
I know
then
how
have
restricted
budget
fund work, I
transfer.
got it.
The board would approve to say, okay, take out the H fund, move it. We have, if you want to know the total amount of the H funds and all, you come to Village Hall tomorrow, you fill out a form, and the treasurer will print them out and give you all that's in the H fund, okay? But that information is not part of the tax increase in the budget.
Yeah, those 7.
Kevin, you know that, Kevin, there's money.
Excuse me, don't talk about the lighting. There was money in the lighting to
Okay,
install
guys,
the lighting.
I'm not done
and
with
they
my
never
question,
were
you're using my time. Sorry.
No, they use some of that.
I
They were never
need my
installed.
time
Yeah, I
back.
know, but they use some of that money, they put some.
The money disappeared like the farmer's market money. There was $1,700 in the bank.
Hey, guys, bring it back to the manager.
Come on, let the lady finish her statement.
Thank you.
Was that?
So
yeah,
those 7 accounts supposedly have more than $250,000, about $800,000.
I won't know that until I get the full report from the
Sorry?
Why don't you have, hold on a second. The audit is just finished. I can't guess what they're gonna write down there. They're also looking at the possibility of what we have to go through between now and the end of February.
I think that's projected as well.
Well, you gotta remember something. Private companies don't work the same as municipalities, that's for sure.
So
Totally different guidelines.
educate me, because I can educate you how a private company
Well,
works.
I
And
don't
I'm
wanna
trying to
know
use
about
that knowledge
private
to
company. I'm not
understand this
involved with private
budget,
company,
and I
never
can't
will be.
understand this budget.
I never will be involved with it.
So, sir, I'm just trying to understand your
Yeah,
budget.
I understand that, but you know what? This is a municipality one. You have to follow a certain.
It's
guidelines.
numbers, they're numbers, I understand numbers, so please explain the numbers to me.
Ma'am, you had your 2 minutes. The story's been up a second time.
But she can have my two.
My time too.
Next person who speaks out of turn, I'm gonna ask to leave the meeting. We'll be here at 4 AM if we all keep talking and interrupting the people that are speaking, interrupting the trustees and the mayor who are answering. Okay, let's have order. We're not gonna end up in a state of confusion. I will ask you to leave. Do we understand that?
Yes,
This is
teacher.
a meeting for the trustees. Through the trustees, basically, because of what happened, and we know that this number went out there really crazy, from 21 to 12, and now it's down to 1.5. I can't see anybody who's gonna worry about that. When you turn around and get your tax bill, okay, that's all the increase you're gonna see in there. It's gonna show you the difference from the previous year. It'll show a 1.5.
Sorry,
If you
sir,
ever
I
look
don't
at your tax
understand your
bills, you'll see that
1.5.
in there, to the assessed value.
I don't understand your 1.5. Your budget went from 2017 budget, your fiscal year 2017 budget, was 3.286,000. Your
This
2018 budget is 3.521,000.
This is the same thing as Mr. Bucko said. It was on tape, I mentioned before, that the
But the math
state turns
doesn't
around.
work, you said 1%,
You're
sir.
not letting me answer. All right, forget about it. Next person, please.
You didn't answer my question. You're telling me the same thing Mr. Bucko said. I wasn't here when that was said. This is my first
Okay,
meeting.
perfect. All right, fine. You weren't here when it was said.
No.
Okay.
So please tell me.
What I told you before is that the state, as you know, you've heard the word tax. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. They were forcing towns, villages, and cities to stay under the cap tax, which we know, basically, that's extremely hard to do. It's not just us, it's every other municipality, South Blooming Grove, town of Blooming Grove, other municipalities I talked to, because when this business started with the cap tax, okay, I went and called them to find out how they're dealing with it. They said it's very hard to deal with it. All you can do is cut. How much can you cut before you really start losing services? Even NICOM up there turned around, and Mr. Baines, I believe, turned around and says there's a real price to pay to municipalities to try to stay within the cap tax. It's impossible to do. I went away on a little vacation for 9 days. I come back, the gas prices went up 14 cents. It's the cost of everything out there that gets us. Unless you sign a contract with somebody, you're able to sign a contract with somebody to keep a price. We've been very lucky so far that our attorneys, that the engineering firm, okay, and other, vendors that we haven't raised their prices in 4 years. So that's a savings to us. That's why we kept trying to get as many grants as we possibly can. And like I said before, you probably heard, some of you may have heard it, we got a grant for a sweeper for $250,000 that we, as taxpayers, don't have to go out and shell out the money to buy.
So is that in this budget?
It's not in the budget yet, because what happens is that we have to wait for the final. I just sent up the last batch to, I think it's Day or something like that, whatever it's called. I just sent up the last batch up to Albany for them to process the paper. And I'm not going to see it when it comes.
But it's on the expense line, right?
No, it's not on the expense. We don't spend it.
What is that,
It's a
it's on the
full grant.
budgeted line, right?
It's a full grant. What happens
So
is
it's not in
that
this budget?
it doesn't reflect
Okay.
It really doesn't reflect any budget because it's a grant that's being
Yeah,
paid
it's an in
for
and out,
by
I
New York
get
State.
it. Yep. So what's that, I thought that's what that was, when it says road improvement on
No.
line 7.
All right, road improvements is money we put aside to do the roads. And then you also have, they call it CHIPS money for roads you get from the state. We get that every year, all right? That could vary, $38,000 to $43,000 what we get. And if you think about it, I believe we have some in the neighborhood of 35 miles of road in Washingtonville. $35,000 doesn't do much for us. That's why we put a certain amount of money into it, and sometimes it's $150,000, $170,000. We put money into that, and with the CHIPS money, it'll be over $200,000 you can do. You probably could do 2 to 2.5 roads, and that's what we've been doing every year, okay, as far as our budget is concerned. And then luckily enough, we get what they call state bids, like the pavers. They go through the state. They are now the cheapest you can get. You can go out and ask somebody else, they're not gonna do it any cheaper than what they do it for. And the work that they do is excellent. So far, we had, what was it called? What's the paving company? Blacktop
State
Maple.
county bid.
Yes. And sometimes you have to, because it's that way, you have to try to hurry up and get them as soon as you can and let them know what you're doing, because they start getting busy, all of a sudden you fall back. You get further back on the list. So you do try to get the roads done. And the CHIPS money, of course, you use that towards that, or you can use it towards whatever potholes you got.
I just have one more, guys, and then I'll give you your time, all right. So, just to elaborate again why I cannot support this budget is, I'm gonna move away from Fund A, and I'm going to Fund G and Fund F. Okay, that's the water and the sewer. So when I pay my water bill, I know that my water and my sewer is 1.5 of my water. It costs more to use sewer. So when I look at this budget, the sewer and the water is almost the same, it's 9% difference. So are we gonna get a break in sewer, or are we getting a break in water? Because I'm not sure how this works. You guys understand my question?
Getting a break, or,
No, I was being facetious.
yeah, I know, that's what I'm just, how you were wording it, that's all. I just want to know if you were,
Uh-huh.
that's all.
But do you understand my question? My question is, between water, the revenue for water and the revenue for sewer, it's only 9% difference. I was expecting that to be around 1.5%, 150% difference,
More.
right? So this is why I don't understand this budget. How am I supposed to say, yes, guys, you can take more of my money because you know how to manage it? You don't know how to spend my money.
Sewer, what's going to happen with your sewer plant, you were here earlier, is that we're looking at an upgrade.
But that's in the revenue line, sir. I'm looking at the revenue, not the expense
I'm
line.
not talking about revenue, I'm talking about expenses.
No, I'm talking about, so you have a balanced budget. Your revenue and your
Oh, you're
expense have
talking,
to
all right,
balance.
sorry, you're talking revenue.
Yes.
Yes, it's very close, yes, it is.
So does that make sense to you? Because it doesn't to me.
Why is it doesn't make sense? You wanna go with the F1, go with the water. You wanna start with the water?
No,
Okay, water.
I'm not getting answers for the A fund, so I decide to make a bigger point by going to the G and the F fund. The numbers don't make any sense, guys. It's like, I could have done this in 2 hours, you know.
Let me explain something. You
Yes,
wanna stay with the water now, the water?
Look at the revenue line.
Okay, the
sir.
water revenue, let's stay with the water, let me explain. The water revenue, the department heads come in, they sat down at a meeting with the board.
Okay,
And
I
they get-
understand. I don't mean to cut you off. Before we let all these people stay here late, here's my point. They made all of that. Everybody met, everybody came up with a number of what the water should be. It should be, take that water, multiply by 1.5, that should have been your sewer revenue.
1.5 has nothing to do with that, it's a separate entity, you know.
I'm not talking about the percentage, I'm saying 150% is what it costs for water. Whatever you pay for water, it costs
That's
that
the
much
rate.
for sewer, 1.5 times. The numbers here don't make any sense, it's only 9%.
So what difference?
Yes,
The sewer is only 9% of the water, it should be 150%, she said.
If I could ask a question to the board, because you did say it's a board meeting. You have the sewer line, Fund G, proposed budget of $735,325. When the actual number that came from the DPW superintendent, $568,865, that's actual. Is all water and sewer going up? And you're not telling us?
No, there's going,
Because there's also $415,000, I'm sorry, $673,000 in the water proposed, when the actual, right now, is $415,000, $421,000. Again, is all water and sewer going up? Because it is a tax. I don't know if you want to understand that. It's still coming out of the same checkbook. Okay? And is the water and sewer going up?
the water tax would probably go up $2 per thousand,
When were you going to tell me that?
because we have to make a hearing.
Okay.
you're approving a budget, and you don't know what's causing it to go up or down.
Yeah, it's in here because we have to
budget?
make a hearing for it.
Amy, the budget approval is on the A fund only, doesn't,
But this is still a tax law. I get what you're saying.
well, no,
This is still a tax.
and I agree with you. The A fund, or the F fund and the G fund is a separate meeting, when I mentioned earlier when Kevin was talking about sewer in general.
Now I want to go to,
Well,
when
we
were
gotta-
we planning on having the meeting? Because next meeting is the moratorium. That's the first meeting in February. Okay, the second meeting in February is probably going to snow, we'll have the day off. Okay, then we have the election in March. So when were you going to tell us this? Okay, when were we going to have this meeting? You
Election
see,
night.
the problem is, your communication skills are not the best. Okay? And I said this to you, if you work on them, they could just be terrible. Right now, they're god awful. Okay? And I've been here since April, and you know what? I'm tired of it.
So,
Okay.
to my
You
original
need to
question.
start communicating, not only with the
This thing
board,
didn't get passed.
but the residents.
Yeah, you recognize me before?
Yes.
Terry Hughes. And I'm just going to expand on what this lady indicated. I had understood from the state comptroller's report, and when I talked to the former mayor, Kevin Hudson, indicated when he took over, he couldn't make hide nor tail. So since I'm not a CPA, I asked Bob Fromage, who's the supervisor of Blooming Grove, who does governmental budgets, and did budgets for IBM when he worked there. He foiled your so-called budgets. And as this lady indicated, they're not really budgets at all. They're plans. Bob said he couldn't make hide nor tail of them. Because basically what this lady said, yeah, you have a budget, you think you're gonna spend $200,000. If you do your job, you're gonna have a 10% contingency there and only spend $180,000. It's just a guess on what's doing. But if you don't, for the next year, use your expenditure as a guide to the next budget, then you're just wasting your time. Because basically, as this lady pointed out, it's a guess upon a guess. And it just keeps going that way. The state comptroller did issue a report, and it appears that the village government of Washingtonville did not follow the standard GASB General Government Accounting Standards Board rules. So everyone's talking about things that they have no clue what's going on because the numbers don't add up. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, so the long and short is, and Bob Fromage does do government budgets, he also has a paid controller to do all the work and so forth. So, I mean, this is, we have, Kevin Hudson had one treasurer, you have two treasurers here. This is just ridiculous. I mean, she pointed out, if you're gonna have, just to indicate what happens when you actually do a real budget and real accounting, if you're gonna put a reserve for contingency for past contract awards, you have that separate from the actual number. You don't lump them together, because they're two different line items. I'm done, thanks.
Mr. Haggerty?
Sean Hegarty, my question is about the amount of interest we're paying on 9 Fairlawn Bank. Why is it going up approximately $6,000 this year when we paid down a significant amount and rates are at historic lows? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, you know what, you're a little premature in that, we are having a discussion with the, with who's that?
Susan, come
But how
down
does-
and have a talk.
How does $14,000 get in there? It was $8,000, $8,500 last year for interest, and now it's $14,186. What kind of interest rate are we paying? Sounds like loan sharks.
Mr. Haggerty, I think I explained that to you on the one-on-one meeting we had, we were gonna get you that information.
You said you're gonna get it to me, but I never got it, so I figured maybe by now, since the budget is here, and that number hasn't changed, maybe I
Tracy's
haven't
working
answered.
on it, she's getting in touch with me, and she'll give that
Get a
answer.
status,
Mr. Haggerty, just to let you know that the ban that we had on the building expired, so we had to go out and renew it. So
Yeah.
when we renew it, we renewed at a higher interest.
But what is the interest rate?
That's
The interest rates are historically low right now.
That's why you see it.
Since last March when they redid it.
March of this year.
My name is Tom Lyons.
Hold on a second.
You have to wait for that.
All right.
Your name, please?
This question should be simple. I asked Mr. Galante about 15 years ago, and it still hasn't answered. The only mayor, and I see a couple of old mayors in this room, and Mr. Domingo was probably the only guy that probably tried to go after commercial real estate, commercial businesses to offset the village taxes. That's what should happen. It's not gonna happen in this budget, but I like you, Mr. Galante, to tell me you've been sitting behind that desk for so many years, and you haven't answered my question 15 years ago. What is this village gonna do now and next time, which will probably be on the board again, to get commercial businesses in here to offset the village taxes? Can you answer me that? My other minister was Amy.
First, I'm not on the board 15 years, I'm only on the board about 10 years.
Whatever it is. I've seen you a long
Okay, I'm gonna answer
time.
your question.
Go ahead.
We did try working with the Chamber of Commerce. We did try to get commercial in there. There was one option that it was gonna be where the cornfield are. No, the lumberyard.
Yeah, the old Spear Lumber has been there for years doing nothing.
Yeah, Spear Lumberyard. There was a company that wanted to come in there, and then when they did a traffic survey of the location we are, a traffic study location we are, and the amount of trucks they have to come in and that, we find it worthwhile for them to put the building up. We here in the village of Washington will have very poor ingress and ingress coming in and out. And that's why a lot of these big corporations don't feel comfortable coming into the village because they can't get their traffic in.
It's not just that, you have abandoned stores in Brotherhood Plaza. I mean, you have property all over.
Brotherhood Plaza, why those stores are not being filled in is because of the company that owns them, they charge too high of a rent.
All right, one more question I have.
Yeah, there's some
If this young
questions.
lady who's a private accountant and a CPA, you can't answer her questions, and Mr. Mayor, you made a distinction between municipality accountant and a private accountant. So which means you're telling us that we should come to this next meeting and have a municipality accountant sit right next to that gentleman and answer our questions, and then ask you questions, because you're not answering them for us.
You know, to that woman, that when you do a budget in the village of Washington or any municipality, it's a projected budget.
It's like that in everything.
It's like, yeah, no,
Private or public.
it's a projected budget, and how it works is that we estimate a revenue coming in. So our revenue, let's say, came in at $5 million. Then we get all the expenditures is $6 million. We have to go back and cut and try to get the expenditures to fill the revenue.
Yes.
Now, during the course of the fiscal year, that's the way we did this budget. During the course of the fiscal year, if all those expenditures that are in the budget, the department heads unfortunately don't need and don't use, you have a fund balance. And what do you do with the fund balance? You put money on the side, or you help offset the taxes. Now, the taxes that the mayor presented, if you go off it, he did a whole bunch of taxes here. He started from 11%, 12%, he went down to 5%, he even visited 4, 3, and 2, 1%. And he said that the best one was to come down and do the 1.5. 1.5% is very low. It's just almost fractions off what the state recommended. So why are you feeling uncomfortable with 1.5%?
We just
You wanna
heard
go lower?
1.9.
Well, you ain't saying anything.
We just heard 8%.
No, it's 1.5. It tells you in there, Joe. Joe, you know how to read the budget, Mr. Bucko. It tells you right here.
Not this one.
Oh, yes.
Nobody can read it.
You're confusing the line items with the actual.
No, you're confusing with us being stupid,
No.
okay, to us being intelligent, okay? Come on.
Joe, when you came, wait, Joe, no, let's clear the air. When you sat down on the 29th with the department head, Mr. Bucko, I asked to cut more out of the budget. You gave a lot of money back into that.
I don't remember that.
Oh, you don't remember it? Yes.
No,
In other
here's
words,
how
I
it
just
went.
said it
Can I
out.
use my second minute, please? Thank you, before you argue.
And the answer was $10,000, and you said, I'll give you $3,000. That's how it went.
My last question, Mr. Galante, you said about Brotherhood Plaza. Why did you tell me that business aren't going in there? Why are they empty?
The reason why they empty, the requirement that we found out is that people that want to rent them stores have to come in there, the rent that they're asking, I think it's in the ballpark of $4,000.
Exactly, so who owns the property?
Huh?
Who owns the property?
It's a private.
Pyramid, right?
And-
Pyramid, right? Probably acidics too, you guys don't even know about that either.
We can't tell them,
Yeah, that's a bigger problem.
we can't tell them what to charge. There's nothing there that we can tell
No,
them.
if you sat down with them and said, maybe we could work out a new tax structure for you.
Something's gotta be done with commercial there, because every town, Goshen, Chester, even Monroe, they got high taxes. They reduced it with commercial property. Commercial businesses that reduce the property taxes of the residents. You've done nothing for 15 years since I mentioned this topic. So maybe this will help the next budget, what I'm speaking about. Obviously, it's not gonna help this one.
Well, they did.
Thank you, I'm
they did
done.
get a
Maybe you
tax
can
rate.
get this one in a minute.
They did, they came back and they put agreements in and they got it.
And they got it from the assessor.
Assessed value of tax rate.
I'll tell you one thing, if you put me up, if you put me and help get businesses in this village, I will get business in this village, if you get me land.
And I'll
And
be
a
your
different mayor,
accountant.
too.
I'll be your accountant.
I just have one simple question. You keep on going back to the assessed value tax increase. What's the actual real dollar amount percentage between the 4.794 and the 5.032? Because that's not 1.5%, so that's the actual dollar amount. What's the percentage there of the budget increase? Not the assessed value, which I think someone else is going to address, but the actual dollar figure amount.
The actual dollar figure difference is 71 cents, .8966.
The amount of money, the actual whole dollar
The dollar
value.
amount that each individual is going to pay for assessed for 100,000.
Yeah, no, I don't want to talk assessed value, I want to talk the actual budget number, the total millions number. I think it's closer to 5% of actual spending versus proposed. Not the assessed value, the actual dollar budget.
You mean the
But,
expenditures towards the revenue?
no, I'm talking about your budget for next year. It's not 1.5% increase, it's,
The dollar amount is 1.5%.
no, that's the assessed tax increase. I'm asking about your dollar figure, the money that's in the budget, the actual dollar, the 4.794 last year, 5.032 this year. It comes to, I think the account says 7%. I think it's like 5.some%.
5%.
But, so that's the real increased budget, even though the homeowners are saying, oh, yes, but what people aren't paying attention to this room, like I said last time, everybody here has to balance budgets in their house or their businesses. That takes $200,000 of the reserves. You know, so God forbid another Hurricane Irene comes, we really have to be very, what is left in the reserve fund after you take $200,000 out? 140?
No.
How much left?
According to the last I spoke to the accountants, maybe about $500,000.
So there's 700 in there now? And you're taking, because at the last meeting,
Let me explain how.
no, I'm just talking about, what's the total of the reserve amount?
360.
360. So if you take 200 out, there's 160 left if you offset taxes.
That's talking about this fiscal year, when it's done at the end of February. They projected how much we're going to spend at the end of February. They looked at what was left in there, they said, you might have about 350 left of I think they call it, unsigned fund balance. Okay?
So-
Now, let me explain this so it sound a little better. 2000, just to give you an idea, 2013, at the end of February 2013, after the audit is finished, there was a deficit of $50,000, according to their figures. The following year, 2014, at the end of the fiscal current year, okay, that's the way they do it when they come in here and audit, it says the fund balance of the general fund was deleted myself. The fund balance was 186,000, that's a plus. 2015, at the end of 2015, okay, they showed an ending current balance of the fiscal year, of unassigned balance for the general fund was 545,000. With that, the way they projected it now for the end of 16 is going to be another 300 cuts, so you're talking almost $800,000 that way. But that's, again, projected, because all the bills aren't in. There's a lot of bills that have to come out.
Yeah, my question, well, I'm using the numbers that you came out in the last meeting. Mr. Hondo, I applaud you for opening up the last meeting and this meeting questions. Because like I said the last meeting, the people in town in Washville are paying attention. So whoever's running for office for the town board next time, I think the village, there is a new awakening in the town and the village. And I would implore anyone who's planning to run for office or mayor to listen to the people. So I applaud you for actually opening up the questions when you didn't have to.
Well, actually, I spoke to the village clerk, and I says, is there any way we can get a different type of system of doing the budget that's more what you call user-friendly, so that it can be broken down a little bit better? Because this is this, I don't know how old the system is. It's been in since I came in 2006.
Yeah, but I would urge
think
you.
it needs to be changed.
I would urge anyone who's on the board next year, this accountant, that accountant spent hours You know, you shouldn't dismiss it as that's maybe we could learn something. I worked in government my whole life before I opened Benny's. You know, maybe you could learn something from an accountant who works in the private sector and just you know, expand your horizons and listen to advice that people, that we may not have think of in municipal government.
I have said before that I think somewhere along the line, my throat's getting dry. Somewhere along the line, I think it would be a good idea if some trustee was an accountant who could help out.
Why don't we have an accountant?
Unfortunately, not too many people, other than ordinary citizens, run for the positions. So I think basically, if you had someone on board who had that expertise, so to speak, I don't think that's going to be harmful at all. I think it might give us a little leeway. As long as it falls in line with what the state requires, that's what you have to do.
Kevin, just to piggyback on what you just said, I think it's a really good idea, because there's obviously a lot of talent out there, right? No doubt about it. And again, I applaud everybody from coming out and speaking up and talking, because this generally doesn't happen. What made this happen? I don't know. But it's great. But at the end of the day, you know, if we had an accountant on this table, the bad news with that is we come and go. So if you have an accountant in here scrutinizing and changing and doing what that person would want to do, that following year they're gone, and so is everything else, and they leave you a mess. So let me just finish. I think where you were driving, and I think next year, whoever's mayor, the conversation and what I wanted to try to bring in, because government has gone from this complexity to this complexity, and you really do need an accountant-type controller, somebody who's got that municipal background in accounting, because it is a little different than, you know, public accounting. But at the end of the day, you're right, numbers are numbers. So I think, as a board, that needs to be one of our priorities. And secondly, I'll end it by saying, I think some kind of, I'll call it a task force. If there's people out there that want to volunteer and meet with us and go over this so that everybody's on the same page, that's the way we need to approach this.
Tom, and that's exactly what the supervisor does with. And I think that's brilliant. Whoever is on the board after March, you know, like the supervisor does with the town, he does citizens committees.
Yeah.
He's looking to put one together for,
Right.
you know, for cost savings for the town level.
Right.
You know, he did one for the ward oversight committee. So, you know, I think there's plenty of talent in this room, and people are paying attention. That's all I can say. It's just whatever it
And
is,
that's good. And
people are awake.
That's great.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think, for whatever it is, you know, open communications, our phone numbers are out there. If you've got any ideas and you're sitting around a coffee table with some neighbors, bring it up. You know, no, it's not our job to just do it alone. We try to get this information out to you, and sometimes it goes unanswered, but at the end of the day, this is great. This is like you said, changes are coming, people who are interested, social media and the rest of it, it's great. So I think, again, starting with the new fiscal year, new board, we take that step.
Kevin, what you mentioned before about the fund balance or whatever it is,
Yeah, I was usually, the number that came up last one was 380, so I was very concerned
you just
if
got-
we used 200 out of 380. You explain, yeah.
But the thing is that keep this into consideration. Mr. Terry Hughes mentioned about Bob Fromaged, about how he was with his, you know, background. Now, unfortunately, when I spoke to Mr. Fromaged, he was honest with me. He says things are just too tough with the state. He says he had to use $600,000 of his fund balance.
Yeah.
Blooming Grove, South Blooming Grove had to use $100,000. And I'm not saying that, oh, I should feel okay because now I have to use it. I didn't do it that way. My thing was always, my theory was to try to keep the taxes as low as possible. It's okay to say, yes, let's make the village look beautiful to attract them, but you don't attract them by higher taxes either. You want to be able to afford to live here.
Yeah,
It's not just the village taxes. As you know, it's the county, it's the town, it's the school, it's all combined.
Yeah.
When people say taxes, I think they're mentioning all of it together. You know, if you're paying $10,000, $15,000, $16,000 a year, that's a lot of money to put away per month just to pay for taxes. And that doesn't count anything else in your household.
Hey, again.
My name is Sandra Aller. I have one question due to what you just said. I asked in October, why can't there be people that volunteer to go over the budget? And you, Mr. Mayor, called me back and said, the attorney said that is against the law. So now you're saying you can do that?
Mr. Prado?
I don't remember the specific questions out there.
There was, I volunteered, and I had other people that wanted to volunteer to sit down and go over the budget with you. And you said it was not allowed, according to the town attorney. Now, you called me back personally and told me that.
Exactly that way. But,
Can't
the
hear you.
budget process.
Can't hear you.
Hold up.
He's chewing in.
The budget process is such that it's the mayor's document until he releases it. And when he releases it to the trustees, then it's a public document. Before then, it can't be worked on by members of the public.
What is your name, sir? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
What's your name? I'm sorry.
Howard Trotter.
And you're the attorney?
Yes.
Okay. What firm are you from?
Jacobowitz.
You know, on Friday night, I had the luxury of having at least, I think there were 12 of us present in the room here, accountants, and so forth, and after spending the 5.5 hours, it was determined by the professionals, and all it was, I think it was a phone call, and I have this friend, I have this friend, I have this friend, so it's really just going out, reaching out. Okay, we have talent within the village. Okay, I saw that Friday night. Okay, and I want to thank everyone for coming in here Friday night. And those of you who wanted to be here, wished you could have been here, I apologize. So I'll take that hit. I know I'll admit when I'm wrong. Okay, but we had a great meeting. Okay, and these are the questions that they're asking right now, and we can't answer those questions, okay? Because what I said before, this budget doesn't mean anything, okay? They're just line items on top of line items on top of line items, okay? Well, I think we should add a couple more pages to it to really confuse the whole issue. Okay?
Can we, and I'm sorry, can we just start in the back, behind Frank, I'm sorry, I know you guys handed it up a long
My name's
time.
Dennis Kern. Don't we have an accounting firm hired by the village? Why aren't they here answering some of these questions for us today? Why weren't they here helping with the budget? We're paying them.
They're, for the most part, they're here to audit the books, not to manage the budget. That's why I'm going back to the idea of a controller, someone that has real deep experience. It might cost some money, but for why and what we need it for, because like we said earlier, every day this stuff gets more complicated. The state throws down more unfunded mandates. They change the processes. They change the tax code. And anybody who's in this business realizes that big time. So we need to move in that direction, because the problem is, once again, the board is, what we need to do is to manage. But when you get into the details of everything that everybody's bringing up tonight, you need a financial person whose head's in it 24/7. We're not accountants. We can't be, sometimes, we should have these, we can get some of these answers, they're great questions. And I'm trying to make a list and stay with it so that we can reach out to you guys and get a phone number. Or again, beginning of the next year after the election, we'll take these ideas and we'll sit down and we'll hammer them out. It's a partnership, we gotta figure it out. If there's a better way of doing it, then so be it.
It's a very frustrating situation every single day. But you have to go through, like Tom said, between the state and everything else, because now the state comes down and tells you, oh, you can only raise your taxes so much, otherwise you'll be penalized. Then they turn around later on, and the same state agency from Albany will come down and say, you know, you gotta fix this, you gotta fix this, you gotta fix that. You know, you're chopping me down here. You're wheedling us down here as far as our income. And now you're coming along and saying, oh, you gotta fix this, you gotta fix health department or whatever. These are the things you're up against, and you never know when the knock on the door comes. You just don't know. And all of a sudden, you gotta fix it. We haven't fixed the police station, chief, right? Police station, what were you, was it 2013? Yeah, 3 years ago. Same thing. All of a sudden, they come down, check it, these are violations. I mean, it's like they just go like this, like check. And then you want to come back later on and check it to see if you did it. It's very frustrating to try to keep up with the state.
Frank Frasco, on page 9 of your budget, under the, right in the middle, you have 2 line items. Electric at the hockey rink and the hockey rink bathroom, totaling about $2,300. The hockey rink bathroom, I guess, hasn't been in service according to the last meetings back in October for about 3 years. So why are we budgeting money for that? And the hockey rink itself doesn't exist anymore because the boards were taken down. So why is there a line item for a rink that doesn't exist?
Well, not so much for the rink, but people are using the rink as it is. Again, at the last
Well, you
meeting.
guys tore down the rink because the pavement was cracked and it was a safety hazard. So now
Right.
you're allowing people to use a public place that's unsafe.
Well, the plan is to get it fixed. There was a group that came out there, you might have seen them or
Right, I
heard it.
understand that, but
Right.
in the interim, if it's unsafe, why is the public allowed to use it still? And why are
Because,
you paying money?
because they took the crack and that's where they put their net and it was not interfering with their game. And it was what they were trying to do.
But
So-
in some meetings prior though, you guys mentioned that it was unsafe and it could be a liability, and you were gonna look to put some kind of structure around it to keep people out.
The actual, 1 second, actually today, it's ironic, today risk management came down to see me. All right, he went down with Chris and checked the village properties, all the village properties, to see if there's any hazards there that could be risk to the village, to lawsuits. And he came down today, and then he finally spoke to me before he left. He says, we'll give you a full report on what we believe you should take care of, or try to alleviate a problem, a potential problem for the village. And that's one of the things I always did. I always tried to make sure that the village would be hopefully harmless on stuff like that, so that somebody wouldn't get hurt. There's only so much you can do,
But
so much you can fix.
And I understand that, but if that's the case, and that process was under review, so to speak, why was the rink taken down?
The rink was taken down, was told by us, risk management said it's a hazard because nobody uses the rink anymore. The rink was a hazard, and then he says, you do one of 2 things. We suggest that you either fix it or remove it. So we went to remove it. We made an announcement, basically we told people we're going to take the rink down. I did get a phone call from somebody stating that they wanted to turn around. I can get volunteers to come and we can fix it or something like that before you take it down. I says, okay, fine. I says, if you can do that, get volunteers to come down and fix it, and whatever. We've never heard from those people again. And I says, well, you know what? I says, I think 6 months was long enough until finally I told the superintendent, I says, we can't take any more risk. Let's take it down.
But as it stands right now, it's still, there's still a crack in the pavement and it still poses a hazard.
Well, I think.
So why is it even,
On the budget.
number one, why is it on the budget and called a hockey rink if it's not a hockey rink? And 2, if it is a hazard to the public, that should be addressed sooner than later.
That could be changed. The reason why that's in the budget now is because it's been in the budget all the while, so we left it there. As a main location. Everybody knows where the hockey rink is.
And what I mentioned at the last meeting also for the hockey rink is that we are going to attempt to get it resurfaced. Because it's a usable piece of asphalt that's large enough, that has the lights, that we can use it for multiple functions. So for example, wintertime, we can turn it into an ice skating rink for the kids and anybody else. During it, again, I mentioned T-ball, being able to put a couple of fields on it. You also, again, had that, I can't remember what they called it, but it was a small net, like
Pickleball.
racquetball. Pickleball. So there's an organization that's out there that's running around the county, it's become very popular. They tried it out, they liked it. They would, if we can fix it and get it going, they would like to have their leagues come down there at night and
But to your point, I get that, and
Right.
it's a good thing that you want to utilize it for other options. Where is that where are those line items in the budget then if that's projected for hopefully this year?
We don't. Okay, so that means.
So where is that money gonna come from then?
That goes to grants or pulling up our local, when I normally can reach out to Assembly Scoopus. He's been very responsive, and we don't have to wait years like the larger grants. If he can get us some seed money to get something done, then I get the money from him. And we'll fix that. If we don't fix it, and risk manager comes back and says it's a little bit too much of a hazard, we'll put tape around it and call it a day. But I don't want to rip it up because I think it's a value. We have the lights there, it's something that just needs to be fixed. And the bathrooms, that seed money that's in there, I recommended in April and May when we found out that the bathrooms were broken, to fix them. They don't need to be stainless steel and spend $15,000 on that stuff. It was ceramic for years, yes, the stuff got broken, but that's over a 20-year period. Fix it and be done, because it's a good place for sports, it's a good place for the baseball, you've got your, all your sports utilize that field.
In the back, please.
Yeah, thank you. You may have answered the question, but I wasn't hearing very well back there. Someone asked when the latest adoption date by New York mandate is for the adoption budget. Do you have that date?
2/1.
Excuse me?
February 1st.
Wednesday. Okay. It's not ready.
Right.
It's not ready. I'm not done. The reason it's not ready, at least as a reviewer, your revenues do not match your expenses, which means it's incomplete. I don't know how you can come up to a percentage of what the tax increase is. Where's the other $347,000 between the revenues and the expenses? Should that be on the tax line, which would push it higher? You know, 2016 looks good. I mean, it matched. It looks like it was done right. But you can't just leave that open without any explanation as to where the money is. Your revenue is 4.8 million. Your expense is 5 something one. Oh, I have a week old one. Am I wrong? Is this an old one from last week?
Did you get it tonight from the table?
Oh, I did not.
No, it changes daily.
Apologies.
And your name was, sir?
Bill Stanley.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
There's a correction. Talking to Mr. Galante, I forgot today that we changed it. We have reduced the $200,000 down to, we could only 167 and change. We used the full 200,000.
Reduce what?
The fund balance.
I think
We didn't use the full 200,000.
Let me answer that. So I can answer your question, how will balance this out, how the revenue balances out. Okay? The village tax money that we receive is $4,841,150. That's the available taxes. We are going to put in from the fund balance to balance the expenditures. Now, the expenditures are $5,032,926.15. So we got the tax money that we received is the $4,841,150. We need the fund balance to balance off the budget of $168,828.48. Then, with the increase of taxes of the 1.5, we were going to generate coming in $23,947.67. That brings a total of $5,032,926.15, and that balances the revenue.
The other thing.
That's fine, but that's not the question.
You said something was 40-some odd thousand.
My point was on the old, just listen for a minute, please. Okay, thank you. On the old budget, I realize I'm working from an old one.
Yeah.
What's not showing up there is a line item for the apportionment from the fund balance. Do you
Yes.
know that?
I know it was in there because when she put it in the computer, I saw the money that went in. And that was
But
readjusted
that's fine,
down.
I don't know it, these people
Yeah,
don't
right,
know
I
it.
understand.
Going forward, you need to show the tax burden, right underneath it, you apportion what comes from the fund balance, because you need to be transparent on what you're taking from our fund balance.
Yeah, Bill,
On that line.
It's built into the total, though.
I think,
That's all I'm
I
gonna
know,
do.
it's, you want it itemized.
Yeah.
I
You
do.
don't want to build into the total,
There's
you
an
want it
account for it,
itemized.
so you should have it
Well,
on there.
From what I understand and what I'm hearing here, and I think a lot of people have a lot of good sense, what they really want this board to do is streamline the budget and get it down to where it's more legible. In other words, to give you an example, if we have to pay, let's say for telephone, you don't have to say, well, DPW, sewer, water, how much is your phone bill, how much is your phone bill, to the store. Have one line item, phone, add them all together, and then whenever the phone bills come in, you just take it out of one line item. And if you do that, you can streamline this thing down to really half the pages it is now. Is that what you, that's what I'm getting at. Is that what you feel, streamline the budget?
Hi, Corinne Courtney, and I understand that it's a very complex job, I really do. I understand that accounting is very complex, and balancing a budget is very complex. But I do ask that our next mayor and trustees, please take the time to at least prepare a budget that has actual factual numbers.
Yes, you can't
What we
budget to
found
budget.
in this budget was that these numbers do not correspond to actual, and a budget is based on actual numbers and then projected into the next year. Examples of this throughout this budget, and I'll just pick a few, are police overtime. Actually, we spent $29,000 in 2014.
That number's not correct. I don't know why they kept blowing it out and complaining about it in the last 2 years. It's not even close.
Okay,
I know,
so my
it's-
point is, this should never have been given out. I've been looking at this since Wednesday or Friday. I mean, I've been looking at this for a number of days. So what we're asking is not for it to be streamlined, we're asking for it to be factual. Because these numbers are made up.
And that is the one.
These numbers punched out of the computer.
We cannot have a budget of anything. Of 164 is actually what it says for 2015, 2016. That I said. I do this because it is really blown up in here. It really shows it. The next year, our projection is that we spent in 1 year $164,000 that we needed in overtime for police, that the next year we will spend $0. Exactly, Dave, exactly. How is that in this budget? That's what it says. There's many of those. I can go through it.
Snow removal.
Snow removal, yes, that we can do all
10,000
4
to
or 5 items.
37,000.
2017, if you go to snow removal, and I believe that's on page 8. And last year
I
was.
want to finish, so.
Let her finish.
Wait, but here's the thing. Here's the thing, you're talking about something, it should be based on actual numbers. We have history. We have to look at the history. In 2014, on overtime, we spent $13,800. In 2015 and 2016, which was a very snow-free year, we spent $10,000. We are now projecting to spend $37,000. Where is that for? It should be based on information, right? I mean, I'm not making a joke.
Or it should be a plus or minus so much percent.
In budgets, there are accepted percentages of increase, just like a cost of living increase. I think our office supplies doubled as well. I mean, this is riddled with it. So I don't know why, and my question is, why are we here 2 days before a budget's supposed to be accepted, and we're talking about this for hours, when all we need are actual numbers, and plug it into the program and see where we're at?
Because they can't give us the actual.
And that is the problem.
There's a lot of.
That's the
Can't
problem.
give you
It's
actual.
not the numbers, it's the fact that we don't have the actual ones.
The actual, when I worked off of was the December budget, and every one that you just mentioned, I chopped. So the overtime. the
But we don't have those
supplies-
numbers, Tom.
I'm sorry?
There's not enough copies, we can't even see
I
those
know,
numbers now.
I know, I gave mine away, so I'm
Yeah.
flying blind here. But, no, I got you. And I agree.
But again, I mean, if we're putting numbers into the system, this system should be able to spit it out as wrong once we put in a number. I was handed a budget on Friday that had no revenue in for 2015 and 16. It showed a $3 million shortfall, and we talked about it for 2 hours before we even noticed it. Because this program should have spit it out and said, You're missing $3 million, going over.
According
Look at it.
according to Christine, when she called the software company, for some reason, that field got blank. I don't know why, but
But here,
That
if
would
that
be-
field was blank,
right,
it added through to the end,
yeah.
and the next number next to it should have been filled off of that number. If that number was blank, the next one should have been blank, which means they're just numbers put in. They're individual
No.
of each other.
No,
That is what
column-
this reflects.
That column is generated from last year's budget. That number is, when they run the report, it just creates that column from last year's budget. When you're creating the new budget for what you're doing, yes, that information is manually entered into the system to create your line items when you're out into the detail. I hear what you're saying, and I actually have a call into the software company, because obviously, if that blanks out, I have a concern about other field people, okay? So, you know, at the end of the day, we need to have a conversation with these guys, no doubt
So
about
why
it.
is this all coming about like less than 24 hours before the budget's due and you have no answer? Like, that's my question, that's scary.
So what,
Like, all these questions that everybody's asking, you have no answers for at all.
Well, you know
We
what?
have to get back to this one because we don't know the answer to that. What do you mean you don't have the answer to that? It's due in less than 24 hours.
I get it.
Can I ask, Mr. Bucko, did you sit down on Friday night and go over this with a dozen of the community? Was anyone on the board notified? And these questions came up then, and the board was there to talk about it, you could have looked at like a united front and been able to settle some of the issues. But I feel like you're nodding your head and rolling your eyes every time someone answers. That's what I mean.
After last Wednesday's meeting, Mr. Galante, Mr. Figueroa says, I'm finished with the budget, you handle it.
Excuse me? Water and sewer, water and sewer.
But if you knew there was problems on Friday night, instead of leading to this much confusion with everyone,
Okay,
you could
let's
have gotten
go.
together with
Why
your
do you
board
think they
members.
wanted to have a meeting at 4:30 in the afternoon? Is it because that was the time
That's
that
just my
everyone
only
could be
question
here?
to you.
Okay?
Friday night, while you were working on it for hours, you could have let the other board members know so that we weren't doing this
I
24
didn't see
hours
this budget
before.
until now.
Apparently, Friday night, you were working on
I
something
didn't,
for five
that's not this
and a half
budget.
hours.
Because the
But you knew the
professionals could not
concerns
do this
then.
budget.
You knew the concerns then.
The professionals could not do this budget. Here's what I'm thinking. This village was established in 1731. Have they been using the same stuff?
Holy cow.
This is incredible. How did we survive?
But I can answer that, Mr. Bucko. Dave and I walked in that meeting and said, you better hurry up because I need to present this on Monday.
No, it isn't.
Yes, you did. You said, if I did not get it verbatim, I got the gist of it. There were other people in this room.
I walked in and says, well, how you doing? He says, fine. Then he asked me 2 questions. I said, well, we already got it down to a certain.
They should have been notified.
We got it down to a certain number.
No, yeah,
So
okay.
let me know.
You're right, and it
he
would've
asked
just
me
been
and
me.
wanted me
You're
to have
right.
the meeting with him on Saturday, the next night. That's
But
all.
I
didn't
heard,
do it. No,
and
was
I
in
heard it
there-
with my own
I was in
ears.
this room for maybe 60 seconds.
I know that.
Okay.
You should have
I
said
did
hello
not
to
sit
them
in.
too.
Wait, Mr. Bucko, when you met the mayor on
So the
Saturday,
answer was you knew about the meeting.
Mr. Bucko, when you met the mayor on Saturday, why didn't you go over the budget with him? Why you just tell him, I want 2 things to do from the budget? Why didn't you say,
Well,
let's
to
go?
us, one thing that we really wanted to remove was paychecks. That's a $16,000 item. That's
Why
the
did you
limit.
go over the budget with him Saturday?
We
Line
moved
by line?
paychecks. I said that Wednesday. We moved paychecks. No, we can't remove paychecks because we don't know about the contract.
If you would have went with the mayor on
Now,
Saturday.
Saturday, oh
you
yeah,
didn't
it's
even do
a
that.
month-to-month contract. Well, you should know that. You know what, I'm
It is a
tired.
month- It is a month-to-month.
Right, but you didn't know that Wednesday, and it's a $16,000 line
Yeah,
item.
but
I would remember
You
that.
don't change
The
payroll
reason-
companies in 24 hours.
The reason
It
you
doesn't work
said
that
we
way.
can't get rid of them is because we need the W-2 form.
No.
That's what you said on Saturday.
And I also said.
Okay,
you want to get rid
W-2
of-
forms have to come in tomorrow. Okay, but W-2 forms have to be handed out tomorrow. So this budget takes place in March. It's still in here.
Mr. Bucko, my question is,
Remember-
you have, wait,
Go ahead.
you have all this
Go ahead.
different numbers that you're working on there. You had the option to call the mayor and say, Mr. Mayor, I want to meet you with you, suddenly would have been 3 or 4 days before tonight, and go over this whole thing, and revise it if you feel comfortable. You never did that.
It seems like nothing that I brought up is even being discussed.
Why did you go, you just said that this whole thing is fake numbers. It is, right? So why did you sit down with the mayor and go over this?
He wants to run for mayor. You plan on raising all
The mayor showed up, why didn't he stay around?
Can I just?
No, he showed up on Saturday for 2 minutes.
Excuse me. One of the things the board needs to do, excuse me, one of the things the board needs to do.
We can hear you.
Well, I'm speaking to the board, I'm sorry.
No, but it's not your
One of the things the board needs to do is to make changes to the budget by resolution before the deadline. If you don't, the old budget proposal goes into effect. So what might be beneficial is if you focus on the expenses that you want to consider eliminating, changing, reducing, whatever it is, because the tax number, the amount to be raised by taxes is going to flow from those choices that you make there. You're not, the non-tax revenue items, I presume you're all comfortable with. I haven't heard anybody take much issue with the things that aren't being paid for by taxes. So what you should do is either focus on the expenses to reduce those to a level that you're comfortable with. And then the balance is going to come either from your fund balance or from taxes. But that's what's going to drive the bottom line. And I think we should discuss.
I understand that, Howard. We have to give these department heads money to operate. They have to operate, they have contractual, we just can't say, okay, last year you only used 15,000, this year you asked for 20. We do ask them why, and they tell us, they say, well, because I'm gonna have to get this year, and that year's gonna cost more, so we give we go along with them.
But Mr. Galante, the police chief just said his overtime, he's the chief of the police. He just said he never requested that overtime amount. So why is the number still in there?
Zero that was in there, that shows that was an anomaly. I don't know why that was in there. It happened last year also. And I never got an answer from the treasurer or the clerk. The treasurer was gone now, but I never got an answer to why that happened.
But Chief, the question is that your overtime that you're projecting you're gonna need, that because of all the things that we're doing. That's what he does now. Okay, well, let me explain. The chief puts in a projection overtime. You know, at the end of the year, sometimes you don't even use that money, and that's the fund balance. Sometimes he does, sometimes he goes over.
Hold on a second. Who's next?
Diane Mack, Capitol Drive. I'm just wondering, does the state provide you with a software program to do this budget? Not at all.
I can't even answer you where this type of budget came from. It was here when I came in.
And the state
But
doesn't
that's
provide
why I
you with
said-
any kind of guidelines for a budget?
Only the itemized line items. As far as a program, though, they wouldn't recommend nothing to something like that. They wouldn't do that. So they don't recommend anybody. I mean, the only thing you might get out of them, if you decide you want to go with a company, and you just happen to call them up and say, what do you think of this company? You might say, well, we haven't had too many problems with it. But they won't recommend anybody, not allowed to.
Not recommend, but give you a guideline of what should be in your budget and how many line items should be in it.
They usually leave that up to the municipality. Now, you see the thickness of the one here for the north, look at the one for the south, about that thick. Because they got a lot of money.
Town in the village.
Yes, but there's a difference in the programs. I don't know if you use his program, to be honest with you. I don't know.
Mr. Riley.
This document, I mean, of course, you and I know that the budget is very dynamic, that it's constant move. what I would suggest is maybe 6 months during the budget cycle, you do a reforecast. See what your 6 months actual expenses are, and say, okay, what my next 6 months will be. And just get an understanding of that, because then you can get an, you know, and you compare that to your actual budget that you have right now, because your actual budget, as you say, is just guess. But if you know what the 6 months actual expenses are, and then you project what you think the next 6 months are going to be, gives us much better.
Yes, unfortunately, and Tom can vouch for this, sometimes line items are not verbatim. You have to, the word that the state uses is estimate. Try to use realistic figures. Go back over your previous years and do it that way. However, we don't know what previous years were. I remember one time, I think there were 6 snowstorms, like in 1 year. That's a lot of snowstorms, and a lot of them were sort of crippling. You either sometimes get one big one, or we were lucky one year, we didn't get any. We got one storm, it was real small.
But can I say, if you were to know what your expenses are through for 6 months, you know that you're not going to have any snowstorm for the next 6 months. So you will project for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but there was also line items when they put something in, they had already gotten something, let's say they bought something already, so they don't need it for the following year, especially if it's something that's brand new. You say, well, you don't need to put that in, you just got one last year. Okay, that's another item that's saved, a line item.
Well, I mean, the private industrial, you have a report capital, but it's dynamic. The management looks at this and say, hey, my budget was at this point at the end of the year, how much is it going to be the real planning, right? You know, when I report capital, those numbers.
You're right, you're right, Roger, yeah.
You should do that.
Yes.
Excel makes that a program.
Yes.
You
And then
can,
you tell me that fund balance is X number of dollars. What makes up that fund balance? The report capital, tell me exactly.
Well, it's falling in line exactly what I said to the clerk today. I said, after all this time, I've been here 12 years, there's got to be a better way to do this. I said, so unfortunately, me leaving in 2 months, it will be up to whether the next mayor is to follow through on it and say, well, let's see if we can find out something. If Mr. Bucko's looking into it already, fine. But there has to be a better way to do this, because especially if you wind up with, another thing to take into consideration is that when administrations come in, they have the option, or at least the mayor does, coming in to either keep the staff or use their own staff. So you can lose people in that interim. Usually here as the clerk and the treasurer. They could come in and use their own people. It's happened down in, I think, William Road, happened down there. So when you have that transition of people, what they were doing, maybe they were there for like 4 years, okay? What they were doing, all of a sudden somebody else picks it up, now they're gonna try and get in there and figure out what they did, okay? In a transition period. That's the only bad part about that situation. You're trying to keep up with the current.
Could I maybe help you out a little bit?
Your name, please?
John Finneran. I too am a CPA, and I've been CFO of a couple Fortune 500 companies. So I've been on your side of the table for 35 years. I think there's only one number that people care about tonight when it's boiled down, and it's actually that very first number. And that's the one that's up 7%. And I think if you want to get all the other stuff, we could spend 6 months going through line item by line item. But the fact of the matter is taxes are going up 7%. And everybody keeps trying to talk about 1% and all this stuff, but if you were working for me, I'd fire you because I'd say that's not the right number. You're telling the taxpayers the taxes are going up 7.2%. Period. And to answer the KJ lawyer's question, we need to reduce the taxes down. You need to reduce the tax. Just pick out the percentage that of tax increase you want. Then I'll do the calculation for you, and then you'll just figure out how you're going to cut expenses. I could do this for you in 5 minutes.
Well, that's time enough for tomorrow. We only have questions.
Terry, you're in. Let somebody else go.
Pardon me?
What are your name, sir?
Glenn Uller. I was just wondering, is there any way that you can contact the state and have them be flexible and extend your time frame for filing? Not at all?
No. They wouldn't allow that.
Why? I mean, people are waiting for their star checks, they're not getting them on time. Why can't we have a couple extra days that, we made all our points, what are we making them
You
for?
just made your point.
Yeah, so I mean, if you guys had a couple more days to fill in the blanks, then you put it back to us again, and everybody be, fine. And all this fuss riding, you're out of time, it's no good. I can't see how you can vote on this. Thank you.
David, Mike Graziano. David, I know, you guys all try to do a great job and everything, I understand that, but, I looked through all these expenses and stuff, and it's still 7.2% increase, like the gentleman just said. I'm surprised, I don't know how much you guys scrub this thing at all to try to look where you can save. I know Tom mentioned it, and Mr. Galante just said, he asked the department heads, how much money you need to operate. And I don't know whether or not you look at that. I know I work for a Fortune 500 company. There's items in here that they cut out years ago on us where we don't get these things. But I'm sure you could probably make a 10% cut across this budget, like they should do with the government, and save the tax increase or lower the tax increase substantially. Nobody's talked about the line items, but there's got to be places to save money in this budget. So I don't know how much you guys really scrubbed it. Can you tell us how much you reduced it from the original numbers? I know my boss, when he presents his budget, he always inflates his numbers because he knows they're going to cut it back. So, I mean, do you guys scrub this thing and try to reduce things? And it's not to cut departments, I'm just saying, it's just to try to be fair and, reduce the taxpayer burden and everything else,
I know that some of the departments would call me to find out, especially if something comes up. I'm going to need overtime for such and such. I said, well, why? Send me an email. I want to know why you're going to need this overtime. Unfortunately, the chief has a problem right now. How many people do you have?
Well, the region carried over.
I know. Okay. So we had an officer we had to not replace because he couldn't get rid of it because he was on compensation. So legally you can't do that. So after he officially goes out, okay, okay, we got one out sick and one on workers' comp, which actually turns around and causes a little more overtime.
I'm not really talking about manpower or overtime or anything like that. I'm talking about more, all the line items you have in there.
Well, again, this is what I meant, Mike, the fact that I talked to Christine today, and I said, we gotta find, I'd like to try to find something and at least pass it down to the next mayor for review, whatever they want to do with it, and say, we gotta come up with something else here, because this is a headache. Every year we try to come up with this stuff. Whether it's, you try to look for something actual, or sometimes you don't have that chance. The other time is there are estimates. The state said it, I knew when they came down and did an audit that I requested. And it says you have to try to estimate as realistically as possible. You can't predict stuff. Nobody's got a crystal ball here. Okay? But those are line items that you have to watch for, because it can hit us.
Just to piggyback off of
Hold
his
on a second,
question.
ma'am. Hold on. Go ahead.
Just to piggyback off of his question, in regards to the contracts that you say that need to be settled or that you're going to improve this year, like the payroll and things like that, are you guys getting that out to competitive suppliers so that you're getting the best price in the market?
Yes. Yeah, we do that, and we also, certain items we go out and bid.
Right, are those bids available for us to review? They should be public record.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Bids are public record.
Yeah,
Bids are public record.
Have you collaborated with other towns around us to consolidate all of the spend that we have so that we can leverage the money that all the towns are
Well,
spending?
but
So
you
that
know,
we can get
that was another
better
thing.
pricing?
That was another thing that the state was trying to encourage on villages and towns to share programs,
Right.
shared services. That's one of the reasons, the shared services that I tried to push through, was that the sweeper, okay, is a shared services deal. I think that's what helped us get that free
Okay.
grant of $250 million
Okay.
for the sweeper. Also, we have an intermunicipal agreement with the town in working using their building inspector and fire inspector services. So she puts a lot of time here in the morning and in the afternoon over here, and goes out and does all the checks that have to be done. And she takes care of all the paperwork that has to be done. She also takes care of, and the shows up for planning board. So
Okay, but I'm talking more about services like engineering and things like the contractor rates that are going up 80% year over year. Those should be negotiated yearly, and they should be in a competitive environment with suppliers so that they understand that the business is not theirs all the time, and that they have to work to keep their prices competitive so that they can continue to have our business.
if you use a company that the town has, and you want us to use that company, there may be something somewhere in there that might turn out to be a conflict of interest. But who you really representing?
Right.
The town?
I'm not saying that.
You know, if it's a professional service.
To your point, like coming up in April, we'll have our annual new meeting, right? What happens at that meeting, we always go out to bid for engineering, we go out to bid for our attorneys. And then we,
Is that all? Is that the only thing you guys are bidding out?
What, like a conflict of interest?
No.
For what?
No, she means bids for-
no, I mean, whatever.
I mean that any service that we pay for,
All right,
including
so-
office supply, should be bid out. I do this for a living for a Fortune 500 company, so I'm well aware of the
Okay.
competitive nature of business.
Right.
Everybody wants business. The more money you have to leverage that business is better. So we should be working with our
The office
surrounding towns.
supplies, the state has a contract, every office supply purchased by this village is through the
Okay.
state contract.
Well, that's one. I'm mostly talking about the 80% increase for the full-time laborers that were discussed earlier.
Those are pursuant to collective bargaining agreements.
What?
Those are pursuant to collective bargaining agreements that are negotiated with the union.
Union contract.
They can't go out to bids, union contract. You know, we do, when we have contracts, the contractual things that we put out to bid, and we always give it, try to save the village money by going to loan. Some of those contracts are for 2 years, some for 3 years, some for 1 year. When they have to come up for renewal, we go out to bids.
Who's going out to bid though?
Right
You
now,
guys
the only
on
one that I
trustee or
know of
the
that the
department head?
contract is up is Syntex. It's gonna be in November of this year, so what we do is about 2 months or eight, maybe 2.5 months, we put it in the newspaper and it goes out to bids.
Right.
And that's it.
But who's doing the bid is my question. Is it you guys, the trustees? I'm sorry, I'm new to the town, I'm trying to understand the process. So is it you guys, the trustees that are doing the bids, the heads of the department?
No, the village clerk puts in the newspapers out the bid. It's in a classified section. It goes out to bids. And then the
Okay.
bids come in and there's an opening date. They come in here, we open the bids and we read them off, and whoever's the lowest bidder gets hit. And that's from the
So
time
whatever
the board
contract
approves
sees
it,
the ad
that's
in
the
the
time they
newspaper
hire it
can
on.
bid?
Huh?
So whoever sees the ad in the newspaper are the people who come in for bid?
Yeah, well, anybody that sees the article of a classified ad could come in and pick up a bid package.
We also have a cleaning service here, that, we send that up, put that up a bit also.
That always goes up. Anything that we have going on there goes up for bid.
Yeah, we also do it for like the gasoline, you know, vehicles and whatnot. We also do that too, they sign a contract and they promise to charge us the same price. Okay, but usually what happens is that, I guess with gas prices going up and down, a lot of them don't bid on it, so we wind up unfortunately staying with the one we have as long as he keeps the price at the same rate that he signed up for at the beginning. Unfortunately, with a small village, it's like, they look at us like, oh, you're nothing, it's just like a gas station.
Right.
Okay, so they don't make any money off us. So we're sort of stuck in neutral.
Which is why collaborating with other villages and towns in the area so that you have a bigger spending pool and more leverage with those suppliers is a good idea,
Yeah.
is what I'm saying.
We tried that a number of years ago with the town and the school district, but they wouldn't do it. Because they want to come and drop it. It's insanity. But yeah, no, I agree.
And that wasn't going to pan out so well.
Very great.
Thank you.
Can you tell me when the contract is up with Kopowitz and Rubin? I'm sorry, my name is Bill Mallon. Sorry? It's up in April? Because I heard there was, the only one was going to actually come out, but can it be canceled early even if need be? Is there a clause that you can cancel on 30 days notice or 60 days notice?
There's a conflict of interest.
Excuse me?
There's a conflict of interest
No, there isn't. With what?
with the attorney that represents Curious Joel, and our interest is taxpayers.
I don't
It's
see
not
a
a
conflict of interest. The conflict of interest would be if there was some business going on in here that was KJ related. That's a conflict of interest, and in most cases, the
But
firm
they
will step
can
out
still
of the
go
way.
back and
Excuse
bring
me,
it
I
into
also have my 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Village of Washingtonville now has 2 wards, a new ward system. And the attorneys that represent Kiryas Joel also represent us, is that not correct? And we're part of the town of Blooming Grove, they also represent town of Blooming Grove. And you don't think there's a conflict of interest there?
Absolutely. I thought they used somebody else for that one part. I thought it was.
Excuse me. My name's Andrea Black, 45 Yorkshire Terrace. Because of that, because of the attorney that works for that company, there's usually only one attorney per whatever it be, is the village or whatever, because they have somebody that's a conflict of interest. Now they pay 2 attorneys. So you're talking about our budget getting raised, but now if you don't get rid of him, we're gonna have 2 attorneys? You understand what I'm saying?
No.
Yes, makes sense.
It does make sense, because that's exactly what they're dealing with in Blooming Grove right now.
Who's their attorney, the attorneys in
We have
Blooming
2,
Grove?
they have 2 attorneys there now, because, 2 attorneys.
And Ben Gailey,
For
Michelle
what?
Babcock.
Yeah, Melissa,
Michelle Babcock and
Michelle.
Ben Gailey from Jacobowitz and Gubitz, and then now they have a special attorney that deals, because when they have to recuse themselves because their partner has represented KJ. Jacobowitz and Gubitz has deep, long-rooted ties. If you watch the video from the town board meeting that is starting to be taped now by Preserve Blooming Grove, the deep-rooted roots that Jacobowitz, Gubitz, and KJ has, it would behoove, I think, most people in the Hudson Valley to consider, if there is a conflict, and what water cooler talk could happen, what firewalls do they have up to prevent a partner in Jacobowitz and Gubitz, one of which is involved in a very multi-million-dollar lawsuits for ethics violations regarding Hometown Bank that's been in the paper. There are very deep-rooted ties, Jacobowitz and Gubitz and the KJ elite, and I would implore the town of Blooming Grove, they had 135 people show up and ask for a change. I think it's just something we should think on, because we're not that far away. Something the next board should think about.
What do we do? I don't have it.
Not just the count of KJ, just, I think because of these, if not an actual conflict of interest, there's certainly the appearance of a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Okay, and we need to get away from that. So I think an RFP, which is a request for proposal, you know that term, needs to be sent out to see if we can get new attorneys that have no conflict of interest, because that's one of the questions we usually ask in an RFP, and see what the rates can be, and maybe we can get a better, maybe cheaper attorney who will not have a conflict of
That would
interest.
be up to the next,
Okay, well, I just want to point out, as Kevin said, people have woken up now, and people are coming out to the meetings, and we're going to be watching, and we want accountability for all this. And I think the budget mess has to be fixed soon, because, we're going to go home tonight hearing that the increase is not going to be as bad as we thought, although maybe it is. We're filling the gap with some of the money from the reserve fund or whatever, to make everybody feel a little better. We're not going to get 12% or 25% increase or whatever. You're saying it's going to be 1.5%, and I guess that math is because of using money from the reserve. The spending is going up quite a bit more, and that'll go up again in the next budget, of course. So this needs to be fixed. Whoever's going to be on the board or be the mayor, take notice that people are watching and it needs to be fixed.
yes, we're talking about tweaking it down.
I'm not talking about tweaking it down. I'm talking about getting a new system, using appropriate software to show how the actual relates to the budget. I ran a labor union, and my budget was twice as big as yours, and we used to use actual, and we had quarterly audits. I don't understand why you don't have quarterly audits here. So you can see how you're doing. As the gentleman proposed, doing a 6-month review, you should be doing quarterly audits.
When you did yours with the union, did you have your fiscal year from January to December?
No, we had September. We had a different fiscal year.
That's the problem we're facing, is that we can't get actual because these expenditures, right now expenditures are still going on.
But you can make more educated guesses if you use quarterly budgets.
You're trying not to guess, because someone will say, you're guessing too high, or you're guessing too low.
You can get better guidance if you have quarterly audits to see how you're spending your money.
It's unfortunate, it's a judgment call.
This budget we're presenting tonight has been cut 3 times by the mayor and by fellow
except you don't really know what the right numbers are.
Right.
So, you know, we're gonna go home saying the increase isn't as bad, we won't feel as bad, but we don't even know if that increase is justified, because you don't have actual
Fiscal
numbers.
year ain't up yet, we don't know that, and the time limit we have to get.
You'd have a better guess if you had a different system and better software.
Maybe that's
You know what?
possible.
You know what also?
But we're gonna have to prove this budget as it is.
I think that's right, I think we're up against it, and you're probably gonna have to approve this budget, so we make a deadline, and people go home tonight and say the increase isn't as bad as we thought it was gonna be, but it better be fixed, because people are watching.
Actually, to answer another part of the question, Mr. Galante had made a statement a year ago, why don't we change our system to go from, you know, from January 1st to December 31st? And the problem with that is that I think they were trying to, I don't know, I'm guessing now, maybe Tom knows, they were trying to stagger the bills that went out to the public as far as, you know, county tax, town tax, utilities tax. So you didn't get it all in one sum. A lot of people don't have, when they refinance their houses, companies do not want to do escrow, it's too much paperwork. So they're cutting it out and telling you, well, you put some money in the bank, and you say, well, 1%, that ain't gonna do me any good. They don't want to be bothered with that, there are a lot of people run into that problem. Now, we just had to re-levy of people that didn't pay their taxes, I think it was $140,000 to $145,000 that we had to send to the county, that we won't see probably till
Yeah, in the first quarter,
right?
this year.
That's why our fund balance basically now, take 15% of that forward, so that we have operating cash flow, until that money be generated back to the village. I mean, we get it back, but it's not money we can really use right away. And that's not good, because now you have to take, that's why it's always good to have a fund balance, so you have something to work with, so that extra money does come in. It's not complicated, but it's annoying to try to do all the things at one time, and, you know, it frustrates everybody.
I understand that, I understand the state mandates, it's terrible what they're doing, the state politicians look better because they hoist all these costs on you, and these rules that they make you put into effect and don't give you the money for, I get all of that, but you can't, you have to have a right starting point, and without actual numbers, or correct numbers, you don't have a good starting point. You need to get that fixed.
That's what
I have a question.
the gentleman.
I'm new to this.
I've been holding my hand up for at least 10 minutes. Had two turns. No, I haven't. Give somebody else a chance, please.
This is the first time I'm here at one of these meetings, it's the first time I'm looking at this. I see there's 3 different funds, A, G, and F. I'll just borrow this from somebody. Can you explain to me what these funds are and what they're for? Because I see a lot of redundant payments.
The A fund is the village tax fund where it's based on the residents' tax increases. The F and G fund is, the G fund is the sewer fund, a separate entity, and the F fund is a separate entity. Those 2 funds are part of the budget overall, but they have no bearing on raising of taxes or any way, shape, or form. They're separate entities on it.
They don't affect, they're not affected, only the A fund affects.
The A
tax
fund is
rate.
the only one that affects the tax dollars.
They're a separate entity by themselves.
So, that still has to be paid for, right?
What's that, sir?
But all of this still has to be
Yeah,
paid
the
for.
other one is paid by the water bills.
Yeah.
The
That
other-
revenue comes in from water and sewer bills. Did you pay your water bill?
So the water pays computer program
The water-
maintenance, A pays
Revenue
computer
coming in
program
from your water and
maintenance.
sewer bill pays those F and G funds. That's where they're revenue.
Don't understand.
Does that make that clear enough for you?
Not really, not really. Not really. Because you have some of the same themes.
A gentleman in the back, please.
Andy Gross, hey, some of you guys know me, but some don't.
Do you understand?
I get the fact that our taxes go up every year, it's just cost of living, I get it.
You got computers being paid for.
1.5, and you can handle. But when you see something like that, and you see a big difference in things, I don't like being bamboozled. If I'm gonna get bamboozled, hire a damn accountant, so it can all get straightened out and fixed. I can accept a big break like that, to have somebody to fix it so it doesn't happen anymore in the future. Or just get a better system. That's it.
That is something I'd like to see addressed. I don't know if I can really get it going and pass it down and see what happens, because I think we're in that day and age now, we have to do something.
Gonna get passed down.
From what I'm getting, you residents want us to take this budget and get closer to the actuals than what we're presenting in now. Is that correct? Am I hearing that?
Yes.
You want actuals more closer to the numbers?
That's what it sounds like.
Because I was looking at it.
Oh, yes?
Yes.
Is that what I'm hearing? Is that what you want, the actuals?
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
Terry, you go ahead.
Yeah, what was brought up maybe about 30 minutes ago was having some type of citizens committee to not review the budget, which is basically a red herring, but to review the bills, the balances. As a matter of fact, that is exactly what the school board does. And you're looking at an $83 million budget, not the type of one you have. We go over the expenses, the controls, all the other things. It's actually established by the state. We have the right to subpoena, which we don't have to do or anything like that. But basically, it's a group of citizens who join as there are actually 2 members of the school board on it, but there's 7 of us. And basically, it's people with knowledge of the county and business and project management and so forth. And there's no reason why you couldn't do that. Now, the audit committee of the school board is actually enacted by the legislature, whereas you would be doing it by maybe resolution or something along those lines. But you can have people, then we meet monthly to go over the various issues that happen with the school board and so forth. And I don't mean to say something odd here, but I find it amazing that you're considering that the state is complex. Have you ever dealt with the state education department? I mean, you literally, you have about 20 pages on how you go to the bathroom and how the bathroom should be set up. So, I mean, this is what, citizens can deal with, and it would be basically not setting up the budget, because that's not something that the lawyer said you can do. But you could review on a regular basis, month to month. We do month to month. You can do every 2 months or something like that, go over the account, see what's going on, so forth and so on. And we would have no, we would have no power. You don't even have to give us subpoena power or anything like that, but you'd be able to go over it and determine what's going up, what's going down. And you start using, this is not rocket science math. It indicates variance and so forth, just standard statistics.
Are you talking about the?
I can't hear you.
Are you talking about the monthly expenses?
Pardon me?
That we pay out, the monthly expenses?
Yeah.
They call it the warrants.
Yeah, no, well, it would be if you're gonna start out, it should maybe be like every quarter, but it would check, what your budget is, what the expenses were, and indicate, when there's gonna be a variance, where you indicate it's gonna go, in other words, it's supposed to be like, for instance, if you're figuring $10,000 a month and you turn out 20,000, basically you'd just be noted that and the report would be made. We make reports all the time. We do
She
projects.
gives us that every month. She gives us a breakdown, what's encumbered, what's left in the budget. She gives us a breakdown from month to month on each line item. What was budgeted, what was spent to date, and what was encumbered, what we have left in that budget line.
Well, the other issue tends to be following procedures.
She gives it to the trustees.
The issue comes down to following procedures and how the procedures have been followed and what the various projections are. You can do this all statistics too. It's not rocket science.
Right. So we can, according to Mr. Powell, we can form an audit group, so that's something that will be.
Yeah, it's not saying the budget, but it's just indicating variance and so forth. And if you're assuming $10,000 a month, the first 2 months are $15,000, you can probably start projecting ahead.
It should be once a month, so we're not facing this the last.
Well, you have to set up a committee first. You're probably gonna take at least 3 months to set up a committee, get volunteers, be able to set up procedures, because you just don't want people going in and messing up with the people who are working, in the office, but.
No, it would be a designated time, designated date, just like the planning board and zoning board, and that's what would be in here.
And the other thing we do, though, we do projects, like we did projects with the substitutes for the school buses, how to reset the time cards. Now a lot of them are, well, you should know that, they're basically finger stuff and all the other stuff. we go over all that, how to fit everything into a finance manager. We're switching over to finance manager, switching over external auditor, switching over internal auditor. I mean, these things are just handled. I mean, there are 2 CPAs on there, there are 2 board members. I'm a PE and a lawyer. There's a couple other, a couple other people on there who have skills and whatnot, and we've been doing this for a long time.
Thank you, Terry. Gentlemen?
Right, now that we're 2 hours and about 17 minutes into this meeting, is the board ready to vote on this budget? Or where do we stand? Are you guys ready to cut 10% off the entire budget and vote? Where do we stand? Because we can be here until 2 in the morning talking about line items and what to do, but what's the solution here?
I understand, and the people want a more accurate accounting of the budget, which we're going to look at.
We're at a time, Mr.
Right?
Galante. We have until
As far
tomorrow.
as, from what I'm seeing in the budget, the amount of tax increase that the taxpayer has to pay is 1.5%.
Next bracket might be, goes up by 7.2. Do I come to you?
It's not the dollar, they're not looking at the dollar amount, they're looking at the overall expenditure.
Mr. Galante, no matter what you say, is whether it's 1 point whatever percent or 7%, the numbers aren't correct.
It's the very first
Because the
line.
numbers aren't correct, something has to be done tonight, otherwise we're gonna have a more increased budget than we're talking about
Has
now.
everybody got their tax numbers?
It's line number 1. Line number 1 is going up 7%.
Line number 1.
Line number 1.
This is trying to get revenue to pay your expenses and your revenue. It's going to go up by 6.2%. That's what you get.
We've had multiple people say it's going up 7.2%.
Where's the line item?
Number 1, the first line item.
The Board of Trustees?
No.
Real property taxes. This is comical. You need the calculator?
These are just their own budgets.
7.2%.
That's what they were
It's
saying.
what it is.
Yeah, they did. That's what they were saying earlier, was that they based it on what the budget was. They didn't base it on the actual budget.
No, stay on page 1. Stay on page 1. You have a chief financial officer, you don't understand it. Taxes are going up 7.2%. You can't dispute that. It says it right there. The very first line is going up to 7.2%. Stop looking at the last page. Look at the first page, line number 1. Real property taxes are going up 7.2%.
But that's the 2018 budget.
Boy, I hope you're getting on that committee.
Increase that, the real property tax with the fund balance and the percentage of the 1.5 tax coming, that's why that number went that high. That's why.
It's
that number-
7%. The number is the number. I don't know where
We
you're.
left that number 3 billion, we left that number $3,330,000, $3,330,200, like the assessor said. We would have an unbalanced budget here. We need more
Well,
revenue.
then cut the expenses.
So we did. We
Want me
cut
to do
the
it?
expenses.
I'll do it in 3 minutes, honest to
And that's
God.
why we cut the expenses as much.
What
as we
percent do you
can.
want to raise taxes? You 1.7, so all we do is take that number, increase it by 1.7, and then figure out from now to kingdom come, what expenses we're going to reduce.
Lower the revenue to 1.7?
Because that's what you've been saying all night, that's what the increase is. It's 7%, not 1.7.
I think you're both talking about 2 different types of numbers.
But that's the real property tax.
I understand. What you're saying is that the total amount raised by taxes is going up 7%.
That's all anybody cares.
I know, but what the trustee is saying, that if you do the calculation out per thousand for the tax rate, that people are gonna face. That difference is 1.5.
Right, that's the political spin. What a financial person is saying is when I go to the bank, I'm gonna have 7.52% less money than I did
I'm
last year.
just trying to explain why you.
Yeah, but would you dispute the fact that I'm gonna have or a village resident is gonna 7.2%
I'm not sure,
less?
I'm not sure that I would agree that the individual homeowner's tax bill is going up 7%.
We're not talking about the bill. We're talking about the overall dollars going from 16 to 17. 17 minus 16 divided by 16 gives you 7 point whatever it is. That's the tax increase.
That's the total amount
What it
raised
comes
by
out to per
tax.
household is based on their assessed value.
That's right, and that comes out to
And that's the
1.5.
game, and that's the game you play at T
That
times
comes
Q.
out to
Yes.
1.56%.
Right, so now my house is worth 20% more. Yeah, right, until I try to sell it. So this is, the number, let's not obfuscate the numbers, it's 7.2%. When I gotta write the check, it's gonna be 7.2%. On average, in this room, it's gonna be 7.2% higher.
Now, if we turn around and don't use the fund balance and don't use the tax edit.
I don't think anybody's suggesting that.
No, I'm saying you have to balance off, because the actual tax revenue coming in, if we left it alone, again, is $8,330,200. Now, if you don't, and the expenditures are a lot more than that. So if you don't help it out and give it some revenue, which is the fund balance, and the 1.5 to 23,947 we're gonna get, you add that in, that's how we balance the budget. I don't understand.
I don't think
the way-
anybody's taking issue with having to use some of the fund balance to reduce the otherwise
I don't,
increase in
I
tax.
don't see where he's mixing up the tax calculation against what our balance is. We left it alone, yes.
Sir, with all due respect, you can't even run a town table
I tried. I just tried.
Roy, try to explain it now.
I did.
You understand the way we've done it.
Yeah, I haven't done the math, so I can't verify.
I can lend you the calculator.
Another question? Last one?
He knows the numbers, right?
I think what everybody's asking is, are you gonna give the actual numbers out? Yes or no?
When?
Simple as that. If you have the paperwork, and you have the receipts for all of your stuff, you can give out the numbers. The actual numbers like people are asking for here.
Expenditures?
Everything.
Expenditures, you still got a month at the end of February.
You can get the budget report at this point, I think they're closing January. You could get the month-end report for January to see all the expenses year-to-date.
Can we get them for December?
Yeah.
Last year?
Yeah. Give me your email address, I have it on my computer, I'll email it.
No problem.
Foil. Another step of bureaucracy.
That's what I had to do, though.
What's that?
That's what I had to do, but I think.
I know, and I think it's crazy at the end of the day.
Should I give it to you now? Or?
Give it to me at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
And I think you belabor the point, but just looking at it, I just want to make sure I understand exactly, and I want to, I'm looking at these four columns. You have actual, and then you have current budget. And the current budget, the real estate, property tax rate is 3.3,286,000. Is that what you expect to get in the year 2017 from us?
Yes, that's what we got.
Okay, now I understand. Then in that case, the increase between the actual and that amount which you said is 1.2%. Okay, the 7.2% is different between the current and the proposed. And I think that's where the problem is.
Yes, because you're looking at the actual tax, the money.
No, but you if you tell me that the third column is what you expect to collect from us, the 3,286,000 this year, then I can say yes, it's 1.2% increase over last year actual for the property tax.
What? Again, I'm telling you. the
I'm
assessor-
agreeing with you.
Oh, okay.
I'm agreeing with you, and this way you're telling me that the 3.26 is what you expect to collect
That's
this year
right.
from all of
That's what
us.
it is.
Then it's going to 1.3 from what the actual was last year. Next year though, in the proposed column, you talk about a 7.2% increase over.
But that's what they're gonna get from us this year.
Next year,
That's what they're collecting this year.
Combine them together. 3,500 for 21,
Oh, the proposed one is the-
76, and then guess what?
Oh, wait, the proposed is the 3.5?
Yes, that's what we're getting this year.
But that's what he told me. That's what he told me. No, I asked you whether or not the $3.2 million, $3,286,000 is what you expect to collect from us this year.
Yes.
That was last year.
That was last year.
That's last year.
That's
That's last year?
That's last
It's
year.
a little over than last year. Last year, we got the 3,286,687. This year, we're projecting
So
3,521.
it's 7.2.
All right?
The 3.5 you expect.
It's still good.
Okay. That's what I make sure I understand.
Let's vote. That's it.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion for the budget for 2017-18. Is there a second? Second.
You gonna pass it?
Find out.
All in favor? One at a time, please. Joe Bucko?
No.
Tom DeVinco?
No.
There's your swing vote right there.
Ed Figueroa?
You said that.
Joe
Said
Paul?
yes. Nothing wrong with
Joe?
Mr. Mayor? Before I give my vote, I just want to make a little bit of... This budget is about the best we can get for what we get, even though the public knows that there's numbers that are not incorrect, but it's a budget that is balanced, it's a reasonable tax increase, and tax rate increase.
You don't have to pay
Why I-
taxes, you don't
why I-
own a home.
I see no reason for me to say, don't go for it. The
Because you
tax
don't pay
increase
taxes,
is
you don't pay-
minimal.
exactly.
Maybe the numbers are not matching, that can always be corrected. But the
Correct them
dollar
now.
amount of
Then
increase
correct
is
them
gonna
now.
be fine.
Well, no, because the people in the audience don't want it.
We'll sit down and correct
He doesn't
it.
care, he'll just
Oh,
punch you.
Well, then I vote yes.
Okay, the vote is 2-2. I have the swing vote, and I vote yes.
First, you thought you would.
See, 2 out of 3 don't pay taxes.
Remember the street?
Same old boys. Same old. Same old.
He's running for mayor. Are you serious?
I don't even know if it's on. This is a Bobby Brown production?